Hello and welcome to the TCR Virtual Global Final here at the incredible Racing Fields Academy in Zurich, where we're looking to crown the ultimate virtual TCR touring car champion. 9,000 registered users, over 1,000 races and 3 regional championships bring us to this moment in time. We've got real world drivers, we've got virtual champions that qualified on simracing.gp for this competition, and we have got 3 very intense races ahead. Martin Haven and myself, Paul Jeffrey, will be talking you through the day. We'll be having a look at some of these incredible rigs, talking to some of these incredible competitors, and when the checkered flag falls later this afternoon, we will have a TCR Virtual Global Champion for the very first time. Cannot wait to get started. Looking forward to taking you all on this journey with us today.
Mr. Martin Haven, the band is back together again after what feels like an incredibly long time. Welcome back.
It's good to be back, and it's good to see some of the drivers that we commentated on in the regional finals have made it all the way through to join you in Zurich. I mean, what a great opportunity to travel, to meet fellow competitors instead of doing it remotely, and to race each other literally head to head.
Yeah, it really is. And obviously, just going back to those regional finals that you alluded to, if anybody is joining the TCR Virtual Championship for the first time, or if you're a returning visitor, if you remember back in 2021 now, we ran the Asia Pacific region, the Americas and the European mini championships on simracing.gp. Those drivers raced for points that Martin and I commentated over with great glee, and then we took the champions away from that one, and now those drivers are here, as you say, Martin, on site in beautiful Switzerland, and we're going to see who's the best of the best.
We definitely are, and I mean, the racing was pretty epic as well, wasn't it? I mean, you know, whichever region you came from, you were in a pretty tough contest to get to the very top, and to try and win through the regional finals was some really good action. So I'm really looking forward to this. This is absolutely la creme de la creme.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, as I said at the start of the show, we had 9,000 registered drivers, over 1,000 races, 7,000 drivers took part in those races. So this is, I mean, we spoke about it. I don't want to go over old ground again, Martin, but we spoke about it in the regionals. This is actual racing. This is not hot lapping. This is not a case of spending 10 hours nailing one fast lap. It's racing against other drivers, showing racing now, racecraft, isn't it? And hopefully, maybe tempting fate, hopefully that's going to lead to 3 incredible races today as well.
Well, I think it is absolutely guaranteed to. We've got 3 different racetracks. We've got 3 really challenging tracks for touring cars and 20 minutes to get it done. I mean, there's no hanging around. This is not a long endurance. This is all about getting your sleeves rolled up and trying to make the moves. And so it's exactly what TCR racing should be about.
And I think that's the whole idea, isn't it? Is to bring TCR competition to the masses, to the everyman that can come, or every woman, of course, that can come, that can take part, that can race, that doesn't have to put in that intense amount of practice to get those ultimate fast laps. And it's just what TCR is all about, is about getting people on track and racing. And so far, it's been sensationally successful. And this is kind of a little bit later after the regionals finish, but it's great to be back again. And they've come from all over the world, these drivers. We've got people from Argentina, the United States, Australia. It's in a world that we're living in at the moment, Martin, where travel has been difficult, shall we say, last couple of years. It's great to get everybody apart from Martin Haven here with us today.
Well, you know, somebody has to be the unlucky one, so I'll take that on the chin. But you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, you talked about the regional finals 2021, back in 2021. That was only 2.5 months ago, you know, last year. So it still seems relatively close on a calendar. But of course, in terms of how free the world is now, it's a lifetime away. And one of the great things that online racing has allowed people to do over the years, and not just since COVID came along, is make contact with similar people around the globe. You know, one of the great things of coming to an event like you have, or going to a real racetrack, is that you're at one place for one reason, and so is everybody else. And so you've got one great thing in common with every single person there. And in that room or across the globe, whether if you're on a server in the dead of night or the middle of the afternoon, whoever you're racing with, whoever you're chatting to, whoever you're interacting with, they share your passion. It's just a brilliant way of hooking up motor racing fans, petrol heads, nutters like us.
Absolutely. And as well, something that's worth bearing in mind, when we did the regional qualifiers, obviously we had the Americas drivers from that region, the Asia drivers from that region, and the Europeans all racing in their own little championships. But now we've all come on site, we're all using the same hardware, we're all in the same room, and it's rare in all my years in sim racing to get people from such wide parts of the world in the same space, isn't it? And that's going to be absolutely fascinating, because pure geography often means that we can't put an American and an Australian and a Scotsman in the same room at the same time, because it's just so difficult to get from that part of the world.
That does sound like the beginning of a joke,
It does.
but actually the point you make is really valid. Time zones play a big part in it, so there are people who are quite a long way out of their time zone, and hopefully they will have sort of at least got a decent night's sleep last night. Secondly, everybody is out of their comfort zone. Nobody is on their own rig. They may be on completely different equipment to anything they've ever used, so there's that. So it's like taking a field of Formula 1 drivers, for instance, and dropping them all into Formula 2 cars run by somebody else and going, right, off you go, 20 laps, sort yourselves out. This is a real leveling factor. They're all out of their own native environment. They're racing on a different rig in a different country, combining with everybody else. They can see their rivals alongside them. They can actually see the person that they're trying to get by. So it's a very different way of going racing to what has got them here. So that just ups the stakes as well. They are there with their peers, and they know that at the end of today, somebody is going to be standing on that stage holding the trophy and looking very, very happy.
Indeed, and before we get started with the actual racing, we've got something very exciting. The TCR mod that is available on simracing.gp is getting a new car. Let's have a quick look at that trailer.
Roll it up.
The Renault Megane, car number 8 of the TCR mod. Fantastic, isn't it, to see more brands being added to this for people, general public, to get out there and race.
Absolutely right. I mean, because the fans will have been watching these cars racing in the TCR series in Europe and across the world for the last 3 or 4 seasons and going, well, I'd like to give it a go. Let's see what the big deal is. Why are people using it? Why aren't people using it? Everybody tends to gravitate to the more successful marques, the marques that you see a lot more, doing a lot more winning. But there's a little bit of the underdog lover in all of us. You just want to give these cars a try. And more cars equals more fun. It's always that way. And you will find that the Renault will be better on certain circuits than just about anything else. That's the nature of the beast. Balance of performance tries to even up the ultimate performance of every car, but they will all produce in a different way. They'll all handle slightly differently. And so, it opens a whole new toy box for anybody who goes online. They can try the Renault and see exactly where its strengths and weaknesses are. And of course, if you then end up racing against one in whatever is your favoured car, you've got that little bit of information. Oh, I know it doesn't really handle that kind of a corner too well, so there's my in.
And the thing, as you say, it's variety is the spice of life when it comes to the TCR touring car. It's such a championship that's been born of the opportunity to make cost-effective racing for as many people as possible in the real world, and we've seen the number of marques. It feels, Martin, almost like it's monthly that we've got a new manufacturer or a new team popping up in one of the many different championships around the globe, not just the European series. So to have another manufacturer represented in the modern. Of course, over time, more manufacturers will get added to it, and Renault have been very successful in the Australian TCR Championship in particular with Dylan O'Keefe. So it's absolutely fantastic to see that one. And yeah, I'm very excited. That car's going to be racing today. But before we go any further, Martin, let's have a quick advert break and word from one of our sponsors.
Welcome back to our coverage of the TCR Virtual Series Global Finals. We're bringing together all of the top drivers from the three regions, from Asia Pacific, from the Americas and from Europe, into one location and pitching them against each other to find out who is absolutely the best of the best. Well, we've already talked a little bit about the format. We've talked a little bit about the fact that everybody is now in a big race centre in Zurich in Switzerland, ready to get into the qualifying phase. Let's catch up with Paul. He spoke to a couple of our drivers just a short while before the action began.
Fantastic, thank you very much, Martin. And now I'm going to go to our first interviewee, Lukas Mateja, who won the TCR Virtual European Regional Final. Lukas, welcome, and can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, I'm from Czech Republic, 24 years old, and I'm here to win, obviously.
Fantastic stuff, and of course, you won the regional finals for Europe. What are your expectations for this race?
I mean, we are already doing practicing, and the competition is so strong. I have to practice really hard, so we will see. But I hope at least for podium.
Fantastic. Well, the very best of luck. We'll not keep you because I know you're busy practicing, and we'll pick up another driver in a quick moment. Lukas Mateja, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And now it's time to talk to our TCR Virtual Americas champion, Juan Manuel Gomez. Unfortunately, Juan Manuel doesn't speak English and I don't speak Spanish. So we've got Alberto from WSC to translate for us. So, Juan Manuel, congratulations on winning the championship. How does it feel to be here?
Felicidades, Juan Manuel, por ganar el campeonato. ¿Cómo te sientes al estar aquí?
Bueno, primero que nada, muchísimas gracias a todos. Es la primera vez que estoy en Europa. La verdad que muy contento con todo lo que estoy viviendo en este momento, ¿no? Es una experiencia única para mí y sobre todo poder estar participando, representando a mi equipo y a mi país, sobre todo en una final mundial, es algo increíble, así que disfrutando mucho.
Well, he said, thanks to everyone who has been working on this. It's the first time that Juan Manuel is here in Europe, so he's very happy to be representing his country and his team Forcilla on the competition, and he's willing to do a great performance here.
And of course, as a champion from TCR Americas, a very hard-fought regional category, are you confident going into this race that you can take the overall victory?
Dice que la categoría de TCR en América se ha visto que tiene mucho nivel. ¿Tienes la confianza aquí de poder hacer un gran resultado?
Sí, por supuesto. Vine preparado, me estuve preparando mucho realmente. Y bueno, tratando de dar lo mejor, de estar tranquilo, de estar enfocado en lo que tengo que hacer, concentrado y poner en práctica todo lo que sé hacer, todo lo que aprendí y para todo lo que me he preparado para llegar acá. Así que confiado, tranquilo, con tranquilidad, estando en el presente, viviendo, yendo paso a paso, cada etapa, circuito a circuito, pero bien, tranquilo, disfrutándolo por sobre todo.
He says that he's very confident, that he's been training a lot at home, so he comes here with a lot of laps that he has done at home. He's very willing to do a good performance here, and he thinks that he can be on the top. And the most important thing is that he said that he's having fun actually racing here, so that's great.
Fantastic. I don't need to speak the language to be able to feel the confidence from the drivers. And now we're going to take a quick ad break and be right back. And now I am joined by a face and a name that no doubt many of you recognise, Bebo Girolamo. Welcome, and if you could introduce yourself, please.
Thank you very much. Okay, it's a really pleasure to be here today representing Honda, first of all, also competing with the best sim racer in the world in the Virtual Global World Championship after so many preliminations. So yeah, I'm very excited to drive my Honda Civic Type R.
Fantastic. So of course you do a lot of real world driving as well. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your experience?
Yeah, for sure. Coming from the real world to the virtual world is really nice because it seems that the virtual world is coming so fast and so close to the real world that is really impressive. And actually this new mod, which we are using today, I really enjoy because it seems very, very real.
Fantastic, and of course you're no stranger to the world of virtual racing. You're sponsored by Cube Controls in the real world as well. So have you got much experience in virtual racing?
Yeah, of course. It's an honor to represent Cube Control as ambassador. They are in the war, in the virtual wars from so many years now, and they are develop new steering wheels, and it's fantastic because the feeling that we have with the nice steering wheels is really close to the reality, and this is what they are looking for. So I'm very happy. I mean, to have the possibility to try at home with my sim is a good opportunity to go into the new track that probably I have some track that I don't know, and having the possibility to train at home is actually a good combination to be super ready for the real race. So it's really nice, and I hope we can get a good result today for Cube Control.
Fantastic. Well, we can't wait to see how you get on. Thank you very much, Bebo Girolamo.
Thank you very much.
Now, of course, with this being an official TCR category, it's only right that we speak to somebody from WSC, and I am delighted to be joined by Emanuele Maltese. Emanuele, it's great to be here. It's great to see these drivers. Can you tell us why we're here and why TCR are getting involved in the virtual world?
Yes, Paul. This idea was born more or less 2 years ago. Then we developed the project. Also thanks to race department, simracing.gp platform, we created this, I may say, wonderful tournament. And today we have this global final where we have people from Argentina, Australia, USA, part of Europe, of course, and it's amazing. The tournament involved almost 9,000 people, so this was the idea of TCR for fans. That's why we created the platform, and over 138 countries and over 1,000 of races. So after 1,000 races, we are here for the last three races, and we hope to have a champion that we can go to the real car. So.
And that's a massive prize, of course, but it's sensational to see so many drivers, like you say, participating in the series here on site. And how does it feel from your perspective, from TCR, just to bring this championship to the general public and let them sample what TCR is all about?
It is like in the TCR DNA, no? In reality, more or less the same. To grab the most big number possible of people. So the project, as I said, is done thanks also to race department. I want to thank also all partners involved for the prizes, for the support, for everything. So thanks also to the guys that arrived here.
Yeah, brilliant. We're saying thanks. We've not seen what the first corner's like yet, so we'll find out very soon. But Emanuele, thank you very much for joining us today, and let's get back on with the action. Thanks. Well, it's almost time for the talking to stop and the racing to start, but we've got one final interview before we get out onto the circuit. We're with Vane from Racing Fuels Academy, the venue of this wonderful event. Vane, pleased to meet you. Can you introduce yourself, please?
My pleasure. So my name is Vane, as you said, and I'm actually the founder of the Racing Fuel Academy, which we started with really racing fuels 20 years ago. And this is racing fuels for racing. That's why racing is our, has always been our passion. And many years ago, about 7 years ago, or even more, 10, we started to build simulators to train the drivers. And today, here in Horgen, Switzerland, close to Zurich, we have 15 simulators of our own production.
Fantastic. And it's incredible, of course, because it's the TCR Virtual Global Final. We've got drivers from all over the world that have come to participate today. It's great to see this for sim racing and for the centre as well, isn't it?
It's great to see, especially after this harsh times, the Corona times. It's amazing to see all these people flocking from all over the planet. And I even think it's amazing, and it's the first time, as far as I know, that people come from so far to race each other on a simulator.
Fantastic. Well, Vane, it's going to be a great day of racing. I'm absolutely sure. I'm about to send us back to Martin, but some final words on what are you looking forward to from today's event?
Totally excited to see the battles, totally excited to see how the real drivers battle against the sim racers. And we had already an interesting start in the morning, but I'm excited to see the races.
Fantastic, Vane. Thank you for your time. And Martin, back to you.
Job, Paul. Well done to everybody, and great to see Nesta Girolami as well, ready for the action. He's not the only real world racer. We have 3 real world racers. Well, one is our Swiss sim racing champion, but Nesta Girolami and Pepe Oriola, who's the South American TCR champion for last year, the Spanish driver from Barcelona, one of the tracks on which we will be racing. In fact, the first track on which we will be racing. So for the last week or so, all of our finalists have been competing on 5 tracks. And Paul, only this morning have they found out which 3 of those 5 tracks will our 3 races be held on. So I've already said Barcelona is the first track, but it's quite an interesting challenge. You were saying, yeah, your money has got to be on Spa being in there. Spa wasn't even on the short list, but it's a really interesting combination. I mean, Barcelona, well known as the home of the Spanish Grand Prix, but it is a good racing championship. We're going to start there. So qualifying has already got underway. It's only 8 minutes. Well, let's take a look at who is going to be running in this TCR Virtual Series Global Final then. So Koen Klotman is first up. He was second in the European campaign. Martin Steverink, fellow Dutchman, sixth in Europe. He drives an Alfa. Dominic Plona, he was third in Europe, and our European champion, Lucas Mattea, in another Lincoln Co. Renault Megane for Swiss champion Thomas Schmidt. Thibaut Pobs from France is in a Honda Civic. He was fifth in the European campaign. Jan Nimsch was ninth in the European action. Nesta Girolami, Bebu, the Argentine driver from the real world WTCR. Adam Pinches for Arnage competition in a Cupra. Jeff Newton comes from Australia to race his Audi. Pepe Oriola, TCR Sudam champion in his Honda. Then Juan Manuel Gomez, Shane Jordan comes from the USA, fourth in the Americas behind Juan Manuel. And then Bartosz Groszek, seventh from Europe. And Ryan Woodrow, also coming from the USA. He'll drive an Alfa. So those are the drivers. We are about to get them out on track. We will join qualifying very shortly. They've had 5 minutes of free practice and then an 8-minute qualifying session. The race itself, 20 minutes plus 1 lap for that extra little bit of double jeopardy. So it's not all over as the time runs down to 0. But Paul, as in the real world, when you've got such a short race, qualifying actually is really important. If you start at the front, it's much easier to stay at the front. If you start at the back, then you really leave yourself with an awful lot of work to do.
Absolutely, and as you say, this is an 8-minute qualification session, so there's not long to find a bit of real estate for your own. You want to try and get the slipstream from some of the rivals if you can. Barcelona's got a very long back straight. It's a very technical circuit as well, and when the time is so tight, Martin, we've seen it in real, we've seen it in virtual so many times. One driver makes a mistake, that can affect 3 or 4 drivers. And then if you're what you deem to be out of position in qualification, you've only got 20 minutes to do something about it. You know that there are no slow drivers in this race, so the jeopardy doubles for you as a driver. We've only got 3 races in this championship. One mistake, one bad result, dropped points where you don't need it to be. You're really putting yourself under pressure, and the only person that really is going to come away from today's racing happy will be the person that wins the championship and gets with it that drive in a TCR car. So this is incredibly intense, and 8 minutes will never feel shorter for these drivers, Martin, I'm sure.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's kind of a 2-minute lap. So the first 3 minutes are to get out to start your first lap coming out of the pit lane, and that's if you leave the pit lane immediately. So you're looking at maybe really getting 2 good laps. So you really have to be careful not to run into too much traffic. You also got to be a little bit careful because on the first flying lap, the tyre's not really going to be where you want it to be. It's not going to be hot enough. The grip's not going to be there. As in the real world, you have to bring it in a little bit. So it's going to be really your second lap, and we're seeing that already now, down in the 154s. So Josef Nimsch and then Juan Manuel Gomez, 154.28. Are we going to get down into the 153s? With a 287, I think there is room a little bit on a second lap. A second fast lap might give you a little bit of pace. There's Juan Manuel in the familiar Ford Zilla colours. So first time in Europe for the Argentine driver, and it's a path well trodden actually. I'm sure if he gets a chance to talk to Bebu Girolami, then he can tell him about his journey to Europe for the first time, as with Esteban Guerrieri, as with so many drivers since the great Juan Manuel Fangio, who really, started that whole migration of South American drivers to race in Europe at the highest level. So Juan Manuel setting the pace at the moment. But again, what are we looking? 2 minutes 50. So there's enough to complete this lap. Maybe if you're right at the end of the lap, not down here, but if you're further around the lap, you might get a chance for another one after that as well. I think everybody has got maybe 1 lap in it.
And there's something to consider, Martin, as well. Of course, they're burning the fuel as they're going round, so the car's getting lighter, which theoretically will make it faster. But we all know that Barcelona is a very high tyre deg circuit. So you're getting your tyres up to temperature in the first lap. The second lap, they should be pretty good. But then you're going to start to get the drop-off. The question is, based on the setup and the driving style of the drivers, is that tyre grip drop-off as significant as the fuel weight saving that you've got? Where's it going to balance out? Will lap 2 or 3 be the ultimate quickest lap time, or can they sneak a third good time lap in? And of course, we saw it as soon as these pictures came on, Martin, for qualification. This driver's getting off the racing line, getting off the racetrack, trying to get themselves just a little bit of room to set their lap. So I expect there will be somebody coming out of this session not happy with their performance, although Juan Manuel Gomez is the man with a plan at the moment, currently in that provisional pole position.
Yeah, and he's got a decent margin as well, 3,500s ahead. Josef Nimsch in third place, 4,800s back, so nearly half a second covering the top 3. And Martin Steverink in the number 13. So Adam Pinches there, he had a good sector 1. He was in the green on sector 1, so he was up on the fastest lap, but sector 2 and 3 went away from him. I don't think burning off the odd litre of fuel is going to make much difference in the overall scheme of things. If it was a whole tank to an empty tank, it probably would do, but they're only being fueled up for qualifying, so it's more about whether you've still got a tyre under you. Thomas Schmidt, car number 20 here. This is our Swiss sim racing champion, so he at least is in his home country, although actually Nesta Girolami Bebu does come from Argentina. He actually lives in Switzerland at the moment. Originally lived in Barcelona the last 2 or 3 seasons, but lives in Switzerland, so he's not had far to come either. He actually comes down from near Lake Constance, down with the Swiss-Bavarian border. Ryan Woodrow in this luridly coloured Alfa. I suppose it sort of red-ish. It's more red than it is green, but yeah, it's an entertaining Alfa colour. Shane Jordan, better lap from him as well in the 86 car, the South African, down in 13th place, ahead of Pepe Oriola and Nesta Girolami. Bebu not finding much pace. Actually, he was a little quicker early on, but Pepe Oriola has gone past him. Trying to remember now if Pepe and Bebu actually yeah, they did in World Touring Cars, race each other in World Touring Cars when Nesta was racing in WTCC before WTCR came along. And Pepe done a lot of TCR racing over the last few years. The 2 real-world drivers. Bebu just producing a lap that goes 12th at the checkered flag. And Juan Manuel Gomez still fastest of all. He's taken the flag. So 5 or 6 drivers have gone through to complete their laps.
Very strong lap time there, Martin, actually, from Girolami for 12th position, just 1.3 away from pole position. Remember, Girolami very much a real-world driver rather than a sim racer, so impressive to see that these guys can compete with their sim racing counterparts on a fairly even keel as well.
Yeah, and they do a reasonable amount of sim racing, although actually I spoke to Bebu a couple of days ago. He said he has not done as much practice as he would like to have done in the last few weeks, because of course they're getting ready for the season. So Dominic Plona, one of our last cars, heading towards the line. Second at the moment, 2800s back, but as you can see, 32 thousandths away now in sector 2, losing time. Oh, and Jan Nimsch losing time and heading off into the gravel, locking up in that downhill hairpin section. Last car coming to line, Thibaut Probst from France, on the R8G Academy drivers. GTWR R8G Academy, I mean, you need a big rear end of the car just to get the name on, don't you? So Thibaut completes our running order, and it does look as though our South America's champion is the man who has taken pole position. Well, there you can see the venue, all of our rigs, all identical, all state-of-the-art, but again, you see a little bit of comparison of notes. It's exactly as in the real world. Everybody gets out of their cars and went, oh, what happened there? What happened to you? What did you do? What did you do? Yeah, there's an awful lot of that going on. And these, don't forget, are largely drivers who will have rarely, if ever, met each other before, other than virtually online. So it's a great opportunity. I mean, that's one of the real bonding things of this sport, that you get a chance to make relationships, to create relationships and friendships with people that you never meet online. Same as any kind of social media, same as any kind of social contact, you know, it's very similar. But here, they've all got the opportunity to be in the same room, to be, you know, racing with each other, against each other, and comparing notes. And so, you know, there will be friends made for life from this one series. So let's take a look then. How about our grid? Okay, so Gomez and Plona on the front row of the grid. Lynk & Co versus Honda. The big wide Lynk & Co on the right of your screen. Red lights go on. And away we go. Josef Nimsch. And a decent start from him in third. Gets just about enough, I think, to cover off Pinches on the inside. But it is side by side. Paul Jeffrey down into the first corner. Your money's on Plona on the inside. If he can keep his nose in there, and he's trying to. Dominic Plona. Oh, big moment. Cold tyres. Don't forget, no tyre warmers as in the real world. And, well, you did say we'll talk about it after the first corner. There's a lot of sorting out and two cars in the wall already. And I'm afraid one of those looked like the Alpha of Ryan Woodrow.
That is exactly what we come to expect from touring cars. Hip and shoulder in the first corner. It seems like Gomez was very much the punching bag, but did a good job to keep the car, broadly speaking, facing in the right direction. So he's still very much in contention. But Martin, it's exactly as we said. We see another car sideways, but luckily keeps the foot in, using front wheel drive to pull it round in the right direction. But this is what it's all about. There's only 3 races. There's only 3 opportunities. You cannot give up a single inch to any of your rivals, and we've seen some very aggressive driving, but just about keeping within the spirit of competition as we go 4 wide now, coming down into the hairpin.
Well, as you know, Paul, the race stewards are in the room or in the building, so they will have plenty of work to do after lap 1. Well, there's Gomez in second place. Groszek, who was, where was he? Second in the European Championship, 7th in the European Championship. Bartosz Groszek in the Audi is our race leader, the purple and yellow, and the Ford Zilla livery of Juan Manuel Gomez. Our real-world racing drivers saw exactly what was happening early on. Up to 6th place, Bebu Girolami, up to 8th place, Pepe Oriola. They were 8th and 9th 3 corners ago. They are making fast progress. You can see the white nose of Bebu Girolami's car. There's a little gap back from the top 5 to him. And there, side by side, Pinches and Newton, the 2 cars at the back who made contact in the opening lap. Woodrow there as well, and through into the lead. Hanging on to second place. That is Gomez. He's ahead of Koen Klopman, the Dutchman, in another Lynk & Co. So the long Lynk & Co saloon body works well down the straight here. And Klopman on the inside. Just saw the little steering wheel gear selector indicating a neutral there for a moment as he shifted down. He's on the inside of Juan Manuel Gomez. Gomez comes back down underneath him into turn 5. And then sweeping down through these left-handers. And Gomez hanging Klopman out on the outside. 4th is Josef Nimsch. 5th is Josef Nimsch, rather. 4th is Thibaut Probst.
And Martin,
yeah,
that is some really intelligent driving from Gomez there. We saw the beginning of the manoeuvre, he really pushed Klopman to the inside, but then accepted the fact that that car was alongside him as Klopman once again shows his nose down the inside to the left-hander. Can he get it done on the brakes? Can he gather the car together for the apex? We see Gomez going back for the switch back on the car. Not quite enough room. He's to the outside, but Gomez just positioning his car on both occasions in exactly the right place, not forcing the issue when it's going to put him in danger of being pushed off the racetrack. And that's somebody who's already, lap 2 of race 1, thinking big picture, thinking about the championship. There's no point being a hero and ending in the gravel. Take the points, like Andy Priaulx always used to say, take the points that are available to you at any given time, and the championship will sort itself out. So great bit of driving, just like we saw in Americas from Juan Manuel Gomez, although Klotman now is up in a second and Gomez on the attack.
Yep, and Thibaut Probst as well on the attack, because Gomez trying to come back, but Probst is right behind him. Car number 22, there he is in that red and black Honda. He's got Josef Nimsch right behind him. Nimsch from Germany in his Cupra. And then there's a little gap back. You can see on the timing pylon, those guys are separated from the leader by about getting on for a second, and then it's about another second and a quarter back to Nestor Girolami and Steverink. So Martin Steverink, who, when you see the race room shot, he's the man closest to the camera. In fact, he is all over the back of Girolami. But this battle for second is now a four-way tussle, and through goes the 28 car. Nimsch takes the place away from Probst, so he's up to fourth place now. And there are the two Lincoln Co's. Bartosz Groszek out front, making good his escape in the first of the Lincoln Co's, and he is ahead of Koen Klotman in the Audi, and then Juan Manuel Gomez, our pole sitter. And Gomez on the outside, on board looking back, couldn't get around Klotman then. The Audi is good down the hill there under braking, but here he comes through on the inside, forced Klotman to defend late and deep, and that's really good thinking. Klotman comes back on the inside. And through too, looks like Josef Nimsch is coming through, gets a lot of Gomez. And Juan Manuel Gomez pushed out sideways by Josef Nimsch. And Thibaut Probst is right there as well now. And as they battle, Nestor Girolami, Bebu Girolami in sixth place, is getting closer.
And just look at that shot, Martin. Look how close we can see Gomez now in the mirrors of Nimsch in second position. Shows his nose to the inside. So this is critical for Gomez. He has got to effect a clean overtake as the line gets closed down. Contact between the two cars. But Gomez has track position and manages to force his way back into the podium spots. But Martin, that car is looking distinctly second hand at this stage in the race. And that's going to slow him down. Gomez cannot afford to give away lap time by carrying damage on the car, and already we've seen he's the man very much in the heart of any kind of door-to-door action at this stage of the race, but he's got to break free now of this pack, hasn't he?
Yeah, he really needs to, because they're being caught from behind as well. Bebu Girolami is bringing Martin Steverink with him, so that's two more. There they are. They've now almost made contact with this group. So you're absolutely right. Gomez needs to break clear. Koen Klotman is gone in second. Bartosz Groszek, well, I don't quite remember where he qualified on the grid. He was outside the top four anyway, but he has made good his escape, and he is really pulling away quickly. So Bartosz Groszek out front and leaving the field behind him in his Audi, on board with Thibaut Probst. Look in the mirror behind. You can see the two cars right there. Bebu Girolami defending from the Alfa of Martin Steverink behind. Steverink looking to cut back on the inside between 6 and 7, doesn't quite get through. Oh no, they're still side by side. There's Steverink on the outside, not there yet. So Bebu Girolami, well, he may not have had a lot of time on the sim recently, but you can rarely take the racer out of the boy, even if the boy hasn't had much racing. Gets back underneath as well. That awkward final chicane, that 13, 14, 15 sequence, everybody really dislikes, but it does allow the touring cars to have a good lunge.
There's a little bit of desperation from Steverink there in that manoeuvre as well. Very risky launching the car over the curb. Could quite easily have collected both himself and Girolami ahead. Of course, Steverink knows that Girolami, very talented driver that he is not a sim racer through and through. So he'll be concerned that maybe Girolami doesn't have the pace that he does. And the longer he sticks behind that Honda, the more disconnected from the cars ahead is going to be. The top 10 in this championship score points. So he's still on for points. And there is Steverink again, hits the back quarter, and that That, Martin Haven, is a Jason Plato-esque manoeuvre. I'll give them a kiss and hope they're confused. And Steverink takes the position, but I think our on-site stewards might want to give him a gentle tap on the shoulder.
Yeah, there's no push to pass here, not in turbocharged form anyway, but that was a definite push to pass. Little love tap there, so Bebu gets knocked out sideways, and that means that he's been caught from behind as well. So Dominik Plona, the Polish driver in the Honda, is closing up behind another Honda driving rival on board with Plona, and this now the battle for 6th place. So Martin Steverink didn't get through. Steverink actually dropped back a fraction. You can see the Alpha at the tail of the field, but that allowed Plona to close, and Plona dives down the inside nice and early, 10 into 11, but doesn't get it done. Nesta Girolami still there on the inside, wearing his familiar number 29. It's a number he's raced with throughout his career. Racing drivers are very superstitious like that. Pepe Oriola, I'm not sure I've ever seen him race anything that didn't have number 74 on it either. They all like the numbers they like, whatever the historical reason for it is. They tend to stick with what they know. So Girolami now dropping away from the top 5, still in 6th place, but remember he was almost on the back of the battle for 2nd place, and then all of that argy-bargy, all of those elbows have just pushed him sideways. Purple Honda on the inside is Dominik Plona, and Dominik does not have a top speed advantage. That's Civic Type R versus Civic Type R, and you know they're both going to max out at the same speed. Whatever other setup issues the drivers may have between the way that Bebu likes it, the way that Dominik likes the car, what they don't affect is the aerodynamics. The top speed will be the same. So if you don't get a tow, if you don't have the slingshot, then you don't have an advantage. Clock now inside 10 minutes. So don't forget it is 20 minutes plus a lap. Looking here at Thibaut Probst. Probst is just dropping a little back as we watch our race leader. And that is Bartosz Grocek on his rig in our race room. Koen Klopman now 2.9 seconds behind. So that is a big margin. He's not going to close that in. And Grocek just doing a great job to survive the first lap and all the arms and elbows, and then to just clear off.
And he looks very confident and very calm and collected with it. We saw a couple of laps ago, Klopman set the fastest lap of the race as Pepe Oriola now getting very firmly into the heart of the battle. 3 cars squabbling over a piece of track just wide enough for 1 car, but Oriola is the head of that train at this moment in time. 11th place, don't forget points go down into position 10, 20 for our race winner, 15 for second, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2 and 1 as Thibaut Probst crosses the line. But that gap at the front of the field, Grocek currently 2.8 seconds. It's coming down, Martin, but it's not coming down fast enough at this stage.
Not really, no. 8 minutes plus a lap, so we're looking at 4 laps plus 1, maybe 3 laps. No, 4 laps plus 1. So this should end up being an 11 lap race. Well, there is Shane Jordan, currently the recipient of the final point. As you said, Pepe Oriola getting properly duffed up. Shane Jordan got by quite quickly, having sort of worked his way to the lead of that group. Pepe Oriola, take a look at the car when you see it the next time, the 74 car. The bright yellow and blue down the side of it looks like it was made out of tin foil. It is so rippled and rumpled. I think his car has got a few tales to tell. Right behind him, Adam Pinches. And then Ryan Woodrow, we were watching, the American in the Alpha, ahead of Thomas Schmidt. And right at the tail of the field, Jeff Newton, not making much of an impact, I'm afraid, in his Audi. He's currently running in 15th place. Koen Klopman, though, 2nd place. And it's the real weight of points is going to be among the top 3 here, really. So Juan Manuel Gomez, it's not all over. 3rd place definitely much better than 4th. Much better than 5th, but not as good as 2nd. So he will be still pushing to try and catch Koen Klopman, but he needs to make sure that no loss of points comes his way in the remaining 4 or 5 laps. Pepe Oriola getting duffed up again, and the outside, Adam Pinches, but Pinches losing ground there. You see what a difference it makes when all the cars are together. It's proper snakes and ladders, isn't it? You know, you think you made a move that moves you up one. In the end, all it did was put you on the head of a snake and you move back down 4 spots.
And we've seen that, haven't we, so many times during the course of this competition. You have to be 100% certain that any move you make has got a very good chance of being able to pull it off, because you get out of line, you lose a little bit of momentum, you're on the outside and you get pushed by a rival. There's not one car going through, there's 4, and it's impossible to get back into position again. And we've just seen that with Pepe Oriola now dropping down in a 12th position. Girolamo is still the best of our real world drivers in position 9. But this is so interesting to see how these real world drivers, they've not come just to make up the numbers because there's some kind of contractual obligation to represent TCR. They're getting their elbows out. They are not afraid to have a fight and mix it with these guys. And it's fantastic to see, isn't it?
Absolutely right, and you know they're playing exactly to type. They love to race, and honestly, it doesn't matter whether it's indoor go-karts, top flight single seaters, touring cars, sim racers. They don't care. They'll have a go at everybody. So this is our race leader, Bartosz Grocek, 5 minutes and counting remaining in the race. Koen Klopman 2.8 seconds back, so the gap varies a little but not by much. The real interest is in the gap between second and third. Juan Manuel Gomez just kind of creeping fractionally closer to Koen Klopman, but not close enough to be able to make enough of a difference. Josef Nimsch and Thibaut Probst, that's the 4th and 5th place battle. You're looking there at Probst in the Honda Civic.
Don't forget as well, Martin, we give out points for qualification in this championship as well. So Juan Manuel Gomez, that we're looking at on screen at the moment, already scored 10 points for his pole position. So he's in a good place at the moment. And considering the aggressive nature of his rivals on the opening lap, 3rd place is a very solid save for Juan Manuel Gomez. We know he's an intelligent driver. We know he's a confident driver, having come all the way from Argentina to Switzerland to take part in this series. So I think he'll be satisfied with a good haul of points. He'll probably come out in or around the top positions at the end of this first race with 2 more still to go. So often it's about not forcing the issue, isn't it? It's trying to play to the opportunities that have presented themselves. You can't win every race, and quite frankly, the person that takes this title might not even win a race, just score big solid points at any given time. And that is the key as we're looking at that is the Renault that we're seeing for the first time in the race there, 13th place. So solid from Schmidt at the moment.
Yeah, the big deal, that, as with every championship campaign, is it's the zeros that kill you, basically.
Yes.
So you've got to make sure that you avoid any of those. But also, as you say, yeah, you know, points for qualifying, very important. So he already has 10 points under his belt, Juan Manuel, for pole position. At the moment, he'll add another 12 points for 3rd place. So, yeah, it's by far from being a disaster. But I think what it will do is maybe suggest to him that next time he needs to be a little bit more forceful in how he negotiates the first couple of corners, the opening lap of the race, because that definitely didn't all go his way. And if he'd been able to avoid dramas a little bit more at the start, then yeah, he could be the one where Bartosz Grocek is now racing way out front. On board with Thibaut Probst, still this battle for 4th continues, and again the difference here, 4th place 10 points, 5th place 8 points, 2 points spread between those 2 drivers, and that could make a big difference at the end of race 3.
And Martin Klopman, another fastest lap of the race, so that gap at the front of the field now 2.4, nearly 2.5 seconds between our race leader and Koen Klopman in position 2. And this is the kind of time in a race, when you're on site in an event like this, when the prize is so big at the end of it, Grocek is now in a position where thoughts other than what's happening on the racetrack start to creep into your mind. Oh, I've not had a great qualifying, but somehow I've managed to work my way into the front of the field. You've only got to hold it together for a couple more laps. That's 25 points in the bag, and that starts to play on the mind of a driver. That's when it becomes less natural what you're doing behind the wheel, when you're starting to listen, like in real life, when you're listening for every noise in the engine for something going wrong in the last few laps. The virtual equivalent is when you start letting the pressure seep into your conscious thoughts while you're on the racetrack. So this is a big time now for Grosjean to try and hold it all together while Klopman is literally throwing everything at it to put that pressure and that hopeful race lead for Klopman into the equation in these last couple of laps.
Not sure where Lucas Mattea is at the moment in the room. In the little inset there you can see Martin Steverink in the dark shirt closest to the camera. We were just following the battle that he's having with Lucas Mattea. Mattea, of course, was the Europe champion in our regional finals. Looking here at Bartosz Grocek. Bartosz was 7th in the Europe campaign. 45 seconds, so it will be this lap plus a lap. So 20 minutes. If it was a 20-minute race, it doesn't stop before 20 minutes, it stops at the end of the lap after 20 minutes, so that lap should be counted from the time after 20 minutes. So 2 to go. Koen Klopman in second, as you say, 2.9 seconds now behind Bartosz Grocek. And Juan Manuel Gomez not closing on second place, he's on his own in third. Josef Nimsch and Thibaut Probst, that's the battle for fourth. You're looking at it here, this is a little further back actually, this is Bebu Girolami, car number 29, right behind him Shane Jordan in the Cupra, 86. Jordan from the USA, fourth in the Americas campaign. And again, Paul, you alluded to the big prize, not just the adulation or resentment of everybody else in the room, but a chance to go and do a real world TCR test with a professional race team. I mean, that is the sort of, I was going to say that money can't buy. Money can buy, but you need a lot of money to buy it. You also need a professional racing driver to buy, a racing license to buy it as well. So, yeah, it's not an easy opportunity to get to by any stretch of the imagination. Well, Nesta Girolami was up in sixth, got bounced around and shuffled back down the pack. Shane Jordan with the last point, trying to get by Bebu.
And there's no sympathy from Girolami there, thinking, oh, I'll let this guy take a couple of points for his big opportunity. Girolami hard on the defensive. He wants to cling on to this 9th position for these final few moments of this race. So Shane Jordan's got to work double time if he's going to have a chance of getting the extra point for position 9, as Klopman now sadly has run out of time.
Well, no, he hasn't, because this is where we go on to our final lap. So there is 1 lap to go, but 2.7 seconds back. So Grocek actually opened up another near quarter of a second over Koen Klopman on that last lap that they've done. And again, 1.7 back, Juan Manuel Gomez. So he's losing ground to Grocek and to Klopman as well. 28, this is Josef Nimsch in 4th place. Thibaut Probst behind him, and no longer realistically a threat, I don't think, Thibaut Probst, unless Nimsch bins it as he did at the end of qualifying. Grocek, our race leader, on what is now the final lap of the race. Time has run out and they are on the +1 lap. So this is going to be a maximum point score for Bartosz Grocek. Now, I'm wondering whether the real world drivers actually are going to be invisible for points. So is Shane Jordan actually going to get points for 9th, and is Ryan Woodrow going to get a point for 10th, or does Bebu Girolami take points? So in my little world, if I were king, Bebu, Pepe Oriola and Thomas Schmidt, the other real world driver, would not be picking up points because they didn't qualify to get here, they didn't win regionals to get here. They're here as a benchmark, as a real world addition. So I would hope that points would go down to Shane Jordan and Ryan Woodrow. However, there is no question who is going to get the most points as of now, and that will be Poland's Bartosz Grocek. He starts the first of our 3 races here in Barcelona by wriggling his way through into the lead, avoiding the elbows of the carnage and the chaos of the first lap, ahead of Koen Klotman and our poleman Juan Manuel Gomez. It is the checkered flag and victory for Bartosz Grocek. Koen Klotman of the Netherlands will be second. Argentina's Juan Manuel Gomez takes third. Josef Nimsch of Germany in fourth place. And Thibaut Probst for France and R8G takes fifth, ahead of Dominic Plona, who had the lead, didn't he, from the outside of the front row of the grid early on in the race. Nesta Girolami, ninth at the line, ahead of Shane Jordan, Ryan Woodrow, Adam Pinces, and then Thomas Schmidt and Pepe Oriola battling for the honour of not being last with Jeff Newton, who gets in at the line. Drag race Oriola is penultimate. Well, boy, that was fun, wasn't it, start to finish?
We ordered a little bit of drama, and drama has been delivered, as we come to expect. Fantastic stuff, and just while we were going through the end of the race, just a little bit of tidying up. The drivers, the real-world drivers, do score points, but in the final championship reckoning, if there's a real-world driver ahead of their virtual racing counterpart, then it becomes invisible in the championship reckoning. So they will, if a real-world driver wins it, whoever finishes second will, in fact, be deemed the victor. But I think if this one continues like this for the next two races, Martin, anybody can win it, because that was sensational. Really, really enjoyed that one.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because some drivers will have spent quite a lot of time, generally, at Barcelona. It's a pretty well-known track. You know, we're now going to go to Watkins Glen. Not many people will have spent much time racing touring cars at Watkins Glen. They might have raced historic Formula One, they might have raced NASCAR or Indy cars there, but touring cars, not so much. It's not so much of a familiar venue, so that might show us a very different looking field. And again, you know, it's a very different racetrack, so it will maybe appeal to some, and some will just be going, I hate this place, I can't get it right. And so what we've got at the moment is one set of points, you know, one field from qualifying, one set of points at almost an entirely different field from race one. So then we go qualifying 2, race 2, and then again, the whole thing changes, qualifying 3, race 3. So yeah, all we've got now is a bunch of points and not much of an indication of where we're going to be in race 2, because it could all change totally.
And that's what we love about this championship, this category, the way that it's been structured in the TCR Virtual Global Finals. And just talking about Watkins Glen for a moment, I don't want to tempt fate or misfortune, but it's one of the... I'm going to, absolutely, commentator's curse. It's one of those tracks where there's long radius corners, there's fast corner entries, and in a touring car, we've seen how close the grid are and how close these drivers race together. It is very, very easy to pitch one of your rivals off the racetrack. There's not armfuls of runoff. You're very much going straight into a barrier if you make a mistake. So it's going to be even more important for the drivers that expect to be running at the front of the field to stay out of trouble, to qualify well, to avoid the dramas of the opening lap that we saw just now at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. I'm predicting, I'm going to rub my crystal ball of always wrong predictions that we're going to see one or two big names in this race in a bit of difficulty, and that will turn the championship, Martin, completely on its head if that's the case. And you've got to be mindful of this when you're strategizing how you approach the event, aren't you?
Well, I honestly, I'm not sure there's much strategy to it. Just get the best lap you can in qualifying, and well, I mean, yeah, you know, first lap almost just it is a proper scramble. It is a real quarterback scramble, the first lap of the race. You've just got to survive, and if you survive in 8th or 9th, okay, it could have been worse, even if you'd started in the top 2 rows of the grid. If you're still going in sort of the top half of the field, then you've got somewhere to go from, as long as nobody makes too much of a break. Whether Bartosz Grocek can make a break again, I don't know. Seems highly unlikely. The other question, of course, is we did see a few little incidents that were fairly much open to a steward's interpretation, so I think the stewards might have a little something to say as well. But again, you know, that's why we have a little pause between our races, to allow the stewards to make penalties if necessary, which will then be applied for race 2.
Fantastic stuff. Right, I think before we go any further, it is time for us to take a quick advert break. Welcome back, everybody, from that little break. And Martin, again, if anyone's joining the broadcast brand new, just to give them a quick update, this has been race 1 of 3. We score points in qualification, we score points in the race as well, and we've still got 2 more to go. And I think in a couple of moments we're going to get an opportunity to have a look at the points table after this opening race. And there we go. So Juan Manuel Gomez, as we said, had a difficult opening lap, dropped all the way down to 3rd position at the checkered flag, but is still our championship leader, and that is a healthy advantage over Jan Nimsch in 2nd position, 16 plays 22, which just goes exactly into what we were saying, Martin, that staying out of trouble, scoring big solid points is going to be the way forward to a victory here.
Well then, that's very interesting. Gomez is 12 points from the race, added to 10 from qualifying, give him 22. Where's our race winner? Bartosz Grocek has a total of 4 points. Now, unless I misremember, he was the first man across the line. So has there been something else happening? Have there been stewards' decisions that we need to know about? Because he was the man who crossed the line first. Behind him was Koen Klopman. So Koen Klopman second in the standings at the moment. Right. So
and that is what we call the dramas of live counting, which is never an enjoyable experience. So they've been retallied that I'm catching in my ear. So we'll come back to that one in a moment. So Juan Manuel, don't celebrate too soon.
Yeah, because I was just sent some points, and they had Koen Klopman with 15 points, so we'll have to wait and see how that went. So, well, we've seen that the new Renault Megane is already out, Paul, but there's a chance immediately for people to put it into action.
There is indeed. So on simracing.gp, which is the platform that hosts the TCR Virtual Championship, starting this Monday, the 14th of March, as you can see on your screen, there's a new TCR Virtual Series. It's going to consist of daily racing on simracing.gp. So head over to simracing.gp/TCR Virtual to get involved in that championship. Download the 8 cars that it is now to drive and get yourself in to these daily races. There will be prizes for the overall champion after this 6-week period. There'll also be outstanding participation prizes, and what we mean by that is any driver, no matter where they finish, if they do 100% race distance completion, they start the races and they finish the races through that 6-week series, they will go into a random draw to take home prizes as well. So you don't have to be the ultimate most competitive person in the field, you just have to engage, you just have to participate. And again, back to that TCR ethos again, Martin, of participation, putting the opportunity to drive and to race into the hands of anybody that wants to take part. And that's a great initiative from simracing.gp and TCR as well, isn't it? To get more people in and to reward people for taking part.
Yeah, because who doesn't like a freebie? It's always good.
Exactly.
News, isn't it? Exactly right. And you're right. I mean, you know, the sim racing arm of WSC does exactly what the real world arm does in the TCR series. Is it democratizes touring car racing and makes it, you know, as cheap, as freely available as possible. And that's exactly what's happening in the sim world, mirroring what's already happened in the real world. Nobody's yet launched no manufacturers yet launched their sim racer before the real world racer comes out. I want to see that happening soon. I want people to be able to race in the winter the latest Cupra or the latest Civic or, you know, whatever is next due for an upgrade.
Well, if I look through my window, Martin, I can see TCR liveried people writing furiously into notepads. So watch this space.
Yeah, they're writing, make him shut up.
Yeah, never invite back M. Haven.
Make him stop now. But I mean, it is entirely possible to do that. And you know, we've seen, you know, the likes of Red Bull creating cars that don't exist for games, but you could absolutely do that by, you know, allowing a mod for a brand new car.
Yeah, it'd be fascinating to see how it happens. But now we're going to have a quick word from our event sponsor, Honda, who we managed to catch up with a few moments before we went on to air.
Fantastic stuff, very exciting, and from Monday you'll be able to get involved as well. But now it is time to talk to our event partners, Honda. Fantastic to have you with us. If you could just introduce yourself, please, to our audience.
Yeah, of course. I'm Lionel Zimmer, in charge of corporate communication for Honda in Switzerland. And so we are very pleased to welcome Nestor Jeremy with Honda here for this event.
I mean, obviously Honda are synonymous with touring car and motor racing, but now in a virtual space as well. How important is it for the brand to be involved in virtual motorsport and bringing it to the masses?
So I think that's also is today an opportunity to be together, because I mean, as you know, and as Nestor explained, the fact to train and to be and to prepare the races through the sim racing is one of the best things. And also the possibility for our fans and customers to enter also in this world.
Yep. And of course, sim racing and esports is getting bigger by the day. Has it impressed you the level of professionalism of the drivers, both on track and representing the brand as well?
Oh, this is something new for us. But basically, I mean, this is the way to be really in touch with our fans, and also to bring our professional drivers directly in touch with the base and the Honda customers.
And your professional drivers, do they ever talk about sim racing? Do they use it for pleasure or for training? And how do you think they feel about sim racing and virtual motorsport?
I think both. They do that by pleasure because they like to drive also, and especially Honda, of course. But this is also for training, and for sure they discover a lot through the sim racing or e-racing. Yeah.
And we've got the 3 races. We've already done race 1, race 2 and race 3 are about to follow. Are you looking forward? Do you see any particular standout moment? Watkins Glen is next. Great to see these cars on track. And do you think the racing's living up to expectation?
Oh, so I just want to be very surprised, but I'm sure we will be very surprised about the winner.
Super, fantastic to have you with us. Thank you very much. And now we're going to move on to the next part of the show as we prepare for Watkins Glen Race 2.
Yeah, Watkins Glen is going to be fantastically entertaining. I think it's always a great racetrack, and one that so few real-world drivers actually get the chance to compete on. Unless you race regularly in an American series, it's very seldom used. So good fun, and really great to have Honda as well on board and supporting this live event. So as everybody now gets themselves sorted out, don't forget that all of our drivers will have tested themselves and will have got practice before the event, in the week leading up to the event, on 5 different racetracks, 3 of which we're using here. So they will already have a basic idea of what they want to do for Watkins Glen. But Paul, of course, they will have done that at home on their own rig, and so if they are trying to emulate that feel and what they want for Watkins Glen, it's not necessarily going to be, there's Pepe Oriola, not necessarily going to be immediate that they get exactly what they had before by changing the settings in the game, or is it going to feel pretty much as it would have done when they're on their own rig?
It'll feel nothing like it, Martin. And that's the thing, you cannot overstate it enough. You're in your own comfort zone. It's like when we commentate. You commentate at home as you are now in all your equipment. Everything's like you want it to be. It's all tailored perfectly for you. And then you go into the racetracks of the world, some better equipped than others, shall we say, and it's all about compromises. And here, the equipment is fantastic. For some people, this equipment they're using will be better than the equipment they have at home, and some people it'll just be different. And your muscle memory changes. The forces that you require to use pedals, to brake, to accelerate, you know what it's like when you're driving a car, Martin. When you're driving a road car, the different feeling from car to car. And when you're in a race car, you know just how much throttle you need to apply. You know that you brake hard at the top of the brake pedal and then you bring it in as you get into the apex. All that completely different. So it's almost like akin to rallying, where rallying, you get onto the stage and then you make do with whatever is in front of you at any given time. It's a bit like that for these guys on here. They're just getting used to it on the fly. And before we came on air, I heard one of the guys talking to one of the engineers saying, can I just soften my throttle pedal off a little bit? Can I just loosen it just a little bit so it's more similar to what I'm used to? And that is why I adore on-site competition, because if you're using equipment that you've used day in, day out for 10 years, that all goes out the window when you're here. It's who can deal with what's presented to them best at any given time, just like real life. Often, a real life driver doesn't say, I want to drive a Honda. It's whoever offers them a contract. And this is the equipment you've got. You don't buy it because it's your taste. It's what you've got. Go run with it. And I adore that sort of scenario.
Well, you're absolutely right. And of course, we talked about the points, and here are the points reflecting the finishing order correctly of race 1. So Bartosz Grocek, 20 points for victory, 6 points in qualifying. So he was actually on third spot on the grid, managed to wriggle through to take the lead of the race. He takes the lead of the standing as well from poleman Juan Manuel Gomez, who finished third from pole position. Koen Klotman finished in second place, which was 15 points. He had 4 for being fifth on the grid, so that is third place for him. Jan Nimsch in fourth, ahead of Dominic Ploner and Thibaut Probst. So our real world drivers, Bebu Girolami in 10th place in the points. That's where he finished in the race. And Pepe Oriola just behind Thomas Schmidt. So it is Bartosz Grocek who is our points leader, and I'm just going to make a mental note, which translates as take a picture on my telephone, so that I have those in front of me. As
Tricks of the trade.
Well, listen, when things disappear from the screen, they disappear from your head totally, as you well know, and certainly from mine.
Yes.
So you have to have these. Okay, so we've already seen that in the room there with you, everybody is already on their rigs. They're already having their free practice session before we get into qualifying. So they're getting themselves re-familiarised with this track from upstate New York. So Watkins Glen, I mean, it's been around since the 1960s, former home of US Grand Prix East, when there was 2 US Grand Prix, US Grand Prix East, US Grand Prix West. West was Long Beach, California. But it's a really demanding, it's a proper old school track. It's probably, you know, that and somewhere like Road America, Mid-Ohio, they're much more familiar to a European racing driver than, say, somewhere like Sebring would be, which is, an airfield circuit. So it's got plenty of camber change, it's got plenty of elevation change. It's, an older racing surface. It's a little bit uncomfortable, uneven. It's got bumps, it's got hazards. And as you said earlier, actually, the walls and the fences are very close. And in that way, it's quite similar, I always feel, to Brands Hatch. It's going to be a real driver's challenge.
Oh, absolutely. And often as well, there's really one optimal line, more so than in many other tracks that we race on traditionally in a touring car. So it's really easy to do the NASCAR move of push somebody off the optimal line, and it's so difficult for them to get back onto it again. Then that is going to train several cars through, as now we're in to qualification, 7 minutes, 24 seconds left on the clock. So everybody, just like we saw at Barcelona, Martin, squabbling around, trying to get themselves some clean air, some fresh tarmac in order to go out and set their laps. And this is going to be another track and another event where it is absolutely critical to stick to your own plan, to stick to your own routine. Don't get caught up in somebody else's problems or in somebody else's strategy, and just go out there and do the best you can for yourself, isn't it?
See everybody heading off downhill onto the full long Grand Prix circuit, because as you mentioned, NASCAR does race here, but they have a little cut through from the upper loop down to what is corner 9 here. So this it's called the boot, this sort of odd shaped section at the bottom of the track, looks like the bottom of a shoe. And then they bring themselves back up. And again, you know, the camera here showing you a pretty good indication of the elevation changes and also the proximity of the barriers. Again, you know, Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, not too far away, very similar in nature. Look, concrete walls, metal barriers. I mean, it's not Monaco, but it's not far off. It's certainly not Barcelona or Silverstone. You see what I mean about how it feels like a European circuit, apart, of course, from that great tunnel of fencing. Just where the camera view is there, that's where the NASCAR cars come back through, and then that's right towards the end of the lap. This is out of turn 1, you just saw the pit exit, so out of turn 1, short shoot down into the dip, down into turn 2 and 3, so you go right, left down the hill. And at the moment, Koen Klotman with the fastest out lap, but that's not really going to count for too much. Again, as we saw in Barcelona, the tyre doesn't get worn badly by the surface, but it's a pretty aggressive race track. You're always changing direction. There's lots of different camber changes there through that little chicane that the NASCAR cars don't use, the inner loop. There's an awful lot of work going on there. And as we drop down the hill here again, down into the chute, into this long turn 6, downhill, tightens a little as you go through it. And of course, tyres love going in a straight line, hate going round corners, hate constant radius corners, hate tightening corners where you're also trying to brake and slow the car. So you're asking the tyre to do more and more and more as you take off the speed and bleed off that downforce. So there's a big potential for a lock up there. And of course, that's, you know, barely a quarter of a mile into the lap. So if you have a big lock up downhill into turn 6 or down here at the bottom of the hill, then you've already ruined the lap, and you've still got another 2 miles to go before you can start another one. So again, we talked about this when we're in Barcelona, a track that most of these drivers, I'm sure, will know better than Watkins Glen. This is going to be really quite high pressure in terms of qualifying. So if you get a good lap straight away, then that is exceptionally good news, because it really gives you the opportunity then to go out and push harder. If you blow your first lap, then suddenly it's like missing that first big booming serve in tennis. Second serve, you can't go as hard, or you can, but you're risking more. So if you push hard again and then blow that lap, suddenly you're scrambling to get any kind of lap in at all.
And that's exactly right. And one thing that's really inspired, actually, to have this circuit in our little 3-race calendar, the driving style that our drivers need to be fast at this track is so very, very different to what we normally see at places like Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia or Imola, where we're going to next. It really requires a lot of commitment and bravery. You've got to monster the curbs, you've got to throw the car into the corner and kind of deal with it mid-corner and on corner exit. Is not the smooth driving style that you come to expect from a front-wheel drive touring car. It's really about handling the car and dealing with the conditions as they come, taking that bravery, taking those risks, and that is going to naturally appeal to some drivers much more than others. So although we're staying in the same category of car for these 3 races, the requirement from the driver that's needed to be competitive here is very, very different to what we've seen at Barcelona, which is exactly what this championship wants to do. It needs to put as many variables into the hands of these drivers as possible to see who can cope with that the very best. And this is why I think it's going to be really interesting to see the likes of Grocek in second position already, only 3 thousandths behind Lukas Mattea on provisional pole position. The cream of the crop will rise to the top in this race, and it's going to be really, really interesting who can balance their skill set and balance their performance across the 3 races, as Thibaut Prost now goes into second position with the fastest second sector of all.
Yeah, nice looking lap from Thibaut Prost. And again, we're going to find that cars that were best in Barcelona are not necessarily best here or again in Imola. So I would suggest, although this is a pretty long, fast circuit, look at the undulation, you know, I would have suggested again that cars like the Lynk & Co and the Hyundai Elantra, because of the sustained high speed, and again probably an Imola, may well be the weapon of choice compared to something like the Honda or maybe the Alfa. But not necessarily the case. Okay, so Lucas Mateng and Koen Klotman are two Lynk & Co drivers, are the fastest two at the moment, and that may just be that they're in clean air. Of course, once the race gets underway, they will also be giving away a slipstream to the cars behind them, and that then means that their top speed advantage is going to be a little bit blunted. Qualifying and racing are often very different. Koen Klotman on a better lap, 29 thousandths of a second behind Lucas Mattea. Mattea, our Europe champion in our 3 regional finals that we ran before Christmas. And Juan Manuel Gomez down in 6th position, not getting to grips entirely satisfactorily here. Bartosz Grocek in 4th place, and he is 96 thousandths back. So qualifying here is actually a little closer than it was in Barcelona.
How sensational is that? Less than a tenth per second covering our top 4 drivers at this moment in time. A quick check-in on our real-world drivers as well. Girolami, of course, finished 9th last time out, is 13th on the timing screens at this moment. And Pepe Oriola, who just at the very death manages to survive finishing in last position in race 1, is currently 15th, 2.4 seconds in a rear, as Plona goes fastest now. There we go, 153.891. So Plona, provisional pole sitter, but Mattea again sets another quick lap, and there we go. It's a massive 2 thousandths of a second between the two of them, so really stretching the field.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from Dominic Plona to top the pile in his Honda. Don't forget, he was on the front row as well in Barcelona, started second on the grid on the inside of the front row, and actually got his nose in front of Juan Manuel Gomez right from the start. Gomez has taken the flag, Plona has taken the flag, Adam Pinches has taken the flag, so to just about everybody. Thibaut Probst, purple first sector. Is this going to put him from 3rd to the top of the pile? He's got a little toe going there as well. Koen Klotman looking for a better result as well. So Klotman still with the lap going, Probst with the lap going, Josef Nimsch and Thomas Schmidt, the Swiss sim racing champion. Shane Jordan, purple first sector. And Martin Steverink in the Alpha taking no further part. So Thibaut Probst, what does he get to? Mr. Girolami has completed his lap. Not a great first sector from him. Thibaut Probst, Koen Klotman then are the two who are still, and maybe Josef Nimsch could move up 6800ths off the lead or off pole position. That's a big ask. So Probst takes the flag. Purple sector 1 does not improve, and there are no other changes. So that means that our grid will be set, and Dominic Plona in the Honda Civic. Really good qualifying from him.
And that, of course, is 10 points for Dominic Plona for qualification as well, which will go towards their championship tally. The race will be starting in a couple of moments' time, and then they're fighting for the 25 points for our race victory. But, Martin, we've seen the fast drivers, again, at the front of the field. Juan Manuel, 4th position on the grid, 2nd position in the championship. So it just goes to show, doesn't it? A very different challenge, but we've still got very similar names at the sharp end of the grid.
And that's going to be really important for them as well. Whether you win or you don't win the race, if you are in the top 4 or 5 in all 3 rounds, then the chances are very strong that you're going to be on the overall podium. And yeah, right now the gap between Bartosz Grocek, the leader, and Juan Manuel Gomez was just a couple of points. So 4 points in it, 22 played 26. So yeah, that's, you know, 1 spot in qualifying and 1 spot in the race negates that. But
absolutely.
Not sure how many TCR races there have ever been at Watkins Glen International, but this will definitely be the first one that I have ever seen. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fare. away we go. Again, the format, 20 minutes plus a lap. Dominic Plona from the lead from Lukasz Matea. Lukasz Matea in second spot. Matea in the Lincoln Co, the silver and grey car, but it is our poleman, Dominic Plona in the Honda Civic Type R. It was a little cleaner getaway, but a great run through from Lukasz Matea, looking to go the long way round the outside, climbing the hill, and this is where the buddy system is going to work, because right behind him, Thibaut Probst coming in the 22 car, trying to just do a little bit of bump drafting maybe. Didn't get through into the inner loop chicane. And now they start again to drop down the hill. There is Juan Manuel Gomez. And still the battle for the lead. Plona just ahead of Matea. Probst is there. Gomez in fourth, 97. That's our points leader. Bartosz Grocek in fifth. So right now, Gomez has taken back a couple of points. And I think they are now tied for the lead as things change. But as things stand, but Gomez goes out a little wide. Bartosz Grocek just at the back of the shot, trying to come through on the Argentine. Didn't make the move. On board with Lukasz Matea in second, trying to go a long way around the outside. So many twists and turns in this Watkins Glen circuit. And again, lots of elevation changes, blind apexes. So you really have to know what you're about here. Coming back on in the long, tight turn 9, climbing up into 10. And then the next corner, turn 11, right-handed, bringing you onto the very short start-finish straight. Pit entrance you won't need to know about. If you do need to know about, you really don't want to. And as they come across the stripe for the first time, Dominic Plona from Lukasz Matea. Matea shows his nose on the inside, more as a distraction than anything else. Thibaut Probst in third, then Juan Manuel Gomez. We ride right behind them with Adam Pinces. That's Koen Klopman in front of us, third in the standings in the Cupra. And Pinces with that bright vermilion. There you are, first use of the word vermilion today. That vermilion livery on his car makes it very easy to spot. And again, Matea, Paul, looking for any kind of move here. He's basically showing his nose everywhere, just in case.
Yeah, really strong opening couple of laps for Dominic Plona in the race lead. Knows exactly where to defend, where is under pressure from Lukasz Matea. Matea very much on his toes in the opening couple of laps, but Plona not defending fresh air, just being sensible where he covers the line, where he places the car, not being hurried, not rushing, making mistakes, carrying too much speed into the corners, just very, very calm, collected and sensible, putting the onus completely on Matea as the one that needs to make the overtaking manoeuvre. Plona just going about his business, and a very, very assured performance in these first couple of laps. Thibaut Probst, third position, had a solid start as well, so he's running the bottom step of the podium. There's our man, Juan Manuel Gomez, in position 4. So, as you suggested at the end of race 1, Martin, a bit stronger on the opening lap for Gomez. He's retained his qualifying spot, and he's very much all panels pretty much the right shape on that car at the moment, so he's looking to charge on as Grocek in position 5, all the way up the rear tailpipe of Gomez ahead. He'll be keen to make hay while the sun shines, should Koen Klopman buy into this fight as well and make it a 3-way battle for that 5th position at the moment.
Well, that's what Gomez will be hoping for. Gomez currently, as you say, in 4th place ahead of points leader Grocek, and Koen Klopman 3rd in the points. He needs to get ahead of Grocek as well, just so he can close on the leader. The only slight problem there for Koen Klopman is that he is a little bit further back, and also once he gets past Grocek, he's still losing points to Juan Manuel Gomez. Now all of them are losing points to Plona and Matea. Jan Nimch, who's 4th in the points, down in 8th place, make that 7th. As I talk about him, he moves up. That's normally not the way that works. Dominic Plona, the race leader, ended race 1 in 5th place, so with pole position and the race lead. Pole position moves him up a little in the points as well. And Lukasz Matea, he was in 7th place in the standings ahead of Thibaut Probst. Now, you'll note that there are 14 cars in the race out of 15. Bebu Girolami had a disconnect issue, did not make the start of the race. Pepe Oriola did, he's up to 11th place, and Thomas Schmidt has not made great progress. He's reversed one down to 14th place of our real-world racers. Back with Adam Pinces. So Adam in 8th place in the Cupra. Adam from Hungary, 4th in the Europe campaign, just missed out on the overall podium. Top 3 in Europe were Lukas Mattea, Koen Klopman and Dominic Plona. So those guys very much part of this lead group. Top 3 in Europe, all in the top 6. And with them, Juan Manuel Gomez, the Ford Zilla Hyundai, right in front of us as we ride with Koen Klopman.
Gomez dropping back at this stage as well, so Grosjean managed to find a way past, strong-armed his way past even for 4th position. That's put Gomez on the defensive as well. Klopman, next man on the list, trying to find a way past. You can just see at the back of the shot the Ford Zilla car defending as we're coming down into this uphill, very fast section. And just like we spoke about, Martin, earlier in the show, this is the kind of racetrack where there's only really one realistic line, and if you keep everything sensible and under control, it is very, very difficult to overtake. And look, Gomez now on the defensive again, so Klopman trying to make his way past into the chicane.
Yeah, and it is this back straight actually that does offer opportunities, because you can slipstream up behind the driver in front and try and force an error into the chicane, and then as they drop down the hill here into turn 6, you can push a little bit harder and try and get him offline, make him brake in the wrong place. And with Dominic Plona, you can see that that's exactly what Lukas Mattea is trying to do. We're just having a little look at Lukas in the inset picture, and as you would expect from drivers of this standard and of this kind of confidence and caliber, just looks so chilled, as though there was absolutely nothing going on, whereas in actual fact he's got his nose firmly stuck up the exhaust pipe of the race leader and looking to try and claim victory. There he is in your inset. So on board with Lukas now, and that's his view of the tail of Dominic Plona's car. Thibaut Probst closing right in actually, and Thibaut doing a really solid job here. Had a good first race, the Frenchman, for R8G, and the Honda is right there. So again, it's once you get into racing, that top speed advantage potentially on the longer part of the circuit here that you get from the long saloon cars, from the Lynk & Co and from the Hyundai and potentially from the Audi as well, doesn't really translate. There are too many awkward corners here for the long wheelbase cars to really just run away, and that allows cars like the Honda, cars like the Alfa, cars like the Cupra to be a bit more competitive again.
And Mattea now very, very much on the attack. We saw him harrying down into T1. Good driving by Plona to cover the inside line very aggressively. But now Mattea takes the lead on the overlap. He's on the outside for the chicane. Very wisely drops back into 2nd position. Plona takes an armful of curb as well. Gets the car on 2 wheels. That pushes him away from the inside racing line, but he closes that door very quickly indeed. So Mattea does not have any real estate in which to play with. Has to hold on to 2nd position. Thibaut Probst with the best seat in the house in position 3 is watching these two squabble, but the harder they fight, the harder they're working the car, the more they're concentrating on what's happening in front of them. That gives an opportunity for this man, Thibaut Probst. He's watching where his car is stronger, he's watching where he's got more grip, more opportunity, and he will no doubt pounce given the opportunity. And Mattea now, Martin, he needs to keep calm. He doesn't want to make any mistakes, doesn't want to get desperate there. He go hard on the brakes, trying to avoid collecting the rear of Dominic Plona. And this is all about the mental game now for Luca Mattea. He knows he's got speed, he knows the car is comfortable in these conditions at this stage. It's just waiting and taking the opportunity when it presents itself. And I dare say, Martin, round the outside is not the right opportunity.
Problem is he daren't wait. I think that lunge he had into the chicane last time might have been his last good chance, because he didn't have attack from behind. Now he does have an attacker from behind, Thibaut Probst. We ride on board with the Honda driver, and you know, right now Lukas Mattea in 2nd place. if he makes a move and does not complete it cleanly, he's not going to go up one, he's going to go back one. He is going to lose a place to Thibaut Probst. And that makes life a little easier for Dominic Plona, because it means that Mattea can't be quite as flagrant in his attempts to go the long way around the outside. So Plona, again, you know, he's just got to make sure line and length. Don't drift off line, don't brake too late, don't do anything you know you shouldn't. Just make him wait. Make him go the long way round, make him make contact with the back of your car. Thibaut Probst is right there. Probst now is Dominic Plona's best mate. They may not know each other, they may never have raced together before very much, but Probst is taking pressure off Dominic Plona because he is putting pressure on Lucas Mattea. Mattea is still showing his car left, right and centre, but Probst is getting the slipstream now from the two cars in front anytime they get onto the straight. And Mattea, again, you know, he's going outside, he's going inside, but each time he's on a less than ideal trajectory and it is counting against him. When he got alongside into the chicane and then pulled his nose out of the way, probably sensibly, I think that was the best opportunity we've seen. That was 2 or 3 laps ago. We're inside the final 10, we're inside the final 9 minutes, plus a lap again. So what have you done? We've done half the race and we've got 5 laps in, so we should again probably end up with an 11 lap race. But right now, Dominic Plona, you just got to avoid looking at what's going on around you and just drive on the line in front.
And while these three at the front of the field continue to squabble for that first position, it is bringing in the rest of the grid into play. So Grotchek in 4th place now is very much within a stone's throw. One small mistake, one wheel out of place for these top 3 running cars. And Grotchek's and Juan Manuel Gomez as well are going to very firmly be in the conversation for this race victory. Meanwhile, Martin, I'm just hearing from race control that the issue with Bebo Girolami's car was he had his ride height set too low, so when he put fuel in, that took him outside of the maximum permitted range and he couldn't start the race. So a bit of a setup issue for Girolami, unfortunately, that's put paid to his chances. Plona now 2 wheels on the grass. This is the opportunity for 2nd position. Mattea takes it with both hands now, side by side, Martin.
Yeah, not going to get there though, is he? Because as they come down into turn 6, it suddenly comes back to Dominic Plona. But Lucas Mattea, if he can stay there somehow, no, doesn't. He has to cut around the outside into this right-hander at 7. Wow. Dominic Plona played a get-out-of-jail-free card there. That almost had his name on it. And there's been a change behind. Bartosz Grotchek dive-bombed Thibaut Probst. And Probst, you look in the mirror now as we ride on board with the Polish driver. Bartosz Grotchek, our points leader, up to 3rd place. So he is extending his advantage now over Juan Manuel Gomez and Koen Klopman, who are 5th and 6th. And on the outside of Gomez, Gomez moves ahead of Thibaut Probst momentarily at the split. It's 3 wide. Gomez in the middle. And Probst gets fired out. That was Koen Klopman coming up the inside of Juan Manuel Gomez, and Thibaut Probst was on the outside. He loses out. He's still sort of thereabouts. And Koen Klopman on the right of your picture across the line. So Gomez 4th at the stripe, Klopman 5th, Probst on the inside in the Honda. Right, you guys, he's going. I've had enough of that. Thank you very much. Dominic Plona leads from Lucas Mattea and Bartosz Grotchek. So Dominic Plona in front, the Polish driver Lucas Mattea from the Czech Republic in 2nd, and Bartosz Grotchek in 3rd place, also from Poland. So the 2 Poles, are they going to gang up now on the man in the middle? Certainly the Hondas are making quite a sandwich of that Lincoln Co, although Grotchek working his way out the order. Koen Klopman in trouble, dropping all the way down the order, down to 10th place. So out of that battle for 4th with Gomez and Probst. We didn't see how it happened, but you have to think that there was contact involved there. And Koen Klopman suddenly down to 10th place, and that's a very major blow to his championship hopes and his points haul.
Yeah, that's exactly what we said. These drivers were desperately trying to avoid at this stage. It's the low scores that get you, not the big scores that win it. And Klotman has a lot of work to do now. 5 minutes left on the clock. We're looking at Grocek at the moment, third place, and just drop back a little bit from this fight between first and second position. Mattea has thrown every single trick in the book and more at Dominic Plona. I cannot applaud this performance from Dominic Plona enough at this stage in the race. Very composed, very sensible drive from our race leader. And the biggest danger, isn't it, Martin, when you're leading a race, is to get overly defensive, to give away too much lap time, start trying to find performance in a car that just isn't there, and then throw the car off the racetrack. And look, straight to the inside, knows where it's vulnerable, into T1, puts the squeeze on Mattea as well. Mattea around the outside, that's not the position to be in, although Lukas Mattea runs all the way around the outside. He's just about avoided those little sleeping policeman pillar type things on the outside of the track. Dominic Plona knows exactly what he's going to do, exactly when he's going to do it, and that is a calculated manoeuvre there from our race leader.
Yeah, Lukas Mattea really working hard at this. He's got the two carbon SimSport cars, nose to tail, one in front, one behind. The purple liveries in both his front view and his rear view. And interesting that you've got a Honda in first, you've got a Lincoln Co in second, you've got an Audi in third, you've got a Hyundai in fourth, another Honda in fifth, and then the first of the Cupras ahead of a couple of Alphas. So there's no dominant force here in terms of which car works best, except, again, I would suggest that Lukas Mattea has got the quickest car. He just does not have a quick enough car to get around Dominic Plona anywhere, and that's the problem. Is he's having to come the long way round, or take a tighter inside line, which means more tyre scrub, which means less traction. And so everywhere that he's tried, Plona has had the ideal racing line, and that means immediately that he tries to make a move, Lukas Mattea is compromised in how he's trying to get by the car in front. And he's doing everything right. He's checking all the boxes. He's going outside, he's going inside, he's piling the pressure on. He's trying to force that mistake from Dominic Plona, but it has yet to come. The one tiny little error that Plona made, he made in a place where he could just about hang on. And the one long run that Mattea had here, again, Plona, as is his right, took the line and went right out to the curb in turn one. And I bet he does exactly the same here again.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of respect to be shown for Lukas Mattea that he's not let frustration get the better of him in this race. As you say, Martin, he appears to have the faster car and has had the faster car pretty much since the green flag wave, but he's not doing silly things. He's not throwing the car and putting himself and Dominic Plona in danger. Let's hope I've not spoken too soon as we run down the back straight. Mattea to the outside. He's been there before. He realises that's not really a position, but what he wants to do there, Martin, he's trying to compromise Plona, which has worked well, and now he's got the run. But again, Plona recognises the situation in advance, puts his car on the inside, and gives Mattea the long way round. Great driving from our race leader.
What's interesting though is behind them, Bartosz Grocek was right up the exhaust of Lukas Mattea in third place. Now looking at Mattea's mirrors, Grocek has dropped right back, and Gomez and Probst together are closing in. Grocek might finish off the podium here. What have we got? We got a minute and a half, so this lap plus a bit. So this is lap 10. We should get at least 11. We might even creep on to lap 12. Not sure how long it's going to take them to get around. I don't think we'll get two more after this. Three more after this. We'll get two more after this.
I will say though, Martin, at this stage in the race, Plona's car looks a little bit more lazy than it did at the start of the race. Maybe tyre wear starting to have an effect. It doesn't seem like it wants to get down into the corners quite as sharp as it did do before, and that's going to compromise Plona. If he's got understeer, he's going to be suboptimal in the middle of the corner. He's not going to be able to get on the power as early. That's going to make him slower down the straights. No doubt it's going to be more difficult to stop the car and slow it down into the braking zone. So all is not lost for Lukas Mattea Mattea at all at this stage in the race. If Plona can't put the car where he wants it to be, and he's been very much an expert at that so far in this race, if he can't do that one, if he can't get the line early enough to defend from Mattea, then this is a good opportunity for Lukas Mattea, who's riding on board with now, to see if he can work a little bit of magic and get that car turned in and down on the lower line earlier, and hopefully for him find a way past.
Again, he's trying to put himself on the outside. You're looking back here at Koen Kotman, trying to get by Jan Nimsch, doesn't manage to do it, nor does Mattea. Grocek, though, with real problems for third, and Gomez is right with him in the back of the shot. Grocek was about 3 car lengths up. He's now about half a car length, not even ahead of Gomez. Gomez is almost touching the back of the third place car. Down into 6 again. Plona with Mattea on the outside. Mattea can't stay there long enough to get the inside into 7, or can he? Has he done it this time? Is he tight enough on the inside? He is. Can he hold it on the tight line to go through? He does. And that is the change of the lead. Next corner is a right-hander. Where is he? Alongside. Plona is still there. Mattea on the inside, Plona on the outside. And Mattea gives him room to survive, which Plona didn't last time. Plona on the inside into 9. Well, Mattea was ahead for 3 turns there, and Plona came back at him, and through goes Gomez. Gomez, no, he doesn't. Gomez now trying to defend against Probst. Gomez made a little move at Grocek, it didn't work. Grocek, the purple car, is still 3rd. Gomez 4th, Probst 5th. Time ran out. Did it run out the last lap? Is this the +1 that we're just about to start? It is. So Dominic Plona, well, Lukas Mattea again, so many times has been alongside with his nose just in front. We've got a battle for first, we've got a battle for third, and either of them could change on this last lap, so I'm not quite sure where to watch. Dominic Plona from Lukas Mattea. Again, Mattea very quick on this sector, really uses the slipstream, really uses the toe. Here comes the Hyundai as well, the Fordzilla colours on the outside. Is Gomez going to go around the nose of Grocek into the chicane? No. Grocek gets his nose back in front, and Gomez around the outside again. Probst is going with him. So a battle on for the lead as we head down the hill in the chute, down into turn 6. Blame on the overrun from Dominic Plona ahead of Lukas Mattea. Right now, Bartosz Grocek, I think, just in front. No, he's not. Gomez has gone through. Gomez up to 3rd. Grocek 4th. Probstin's 5th. So Grocek, the points leader, losing 1 spot here to Juan Manuel Gomez. Dominic Plona and Lukas Mattea, though, still halfway round, battling for the lead. Outside, says the spotter. He's not quite there yet. And Plona actually looking tidier on this final lap. This is absolutely, having been passed and having had to follow for a couple of corners and fighting his way back through at this point on the last lap, he doesn't want it to happen again. Into the left-hander at 10 comes the leader. Gomez, oh, a little drift. Here comes Mattea down the inside into turn 11. Is he going to take the lead in the final corner? Bouncing over the curbs is Plona, and it's going to be a drag race. Mattea wins it. He leads for 100 metres and takes victory from Dominic Plona. And Gomez takes 3rd ahead of Grocek, Probst, Pitses, Woodrow and Stavenink. Koen Kotman gets up to 9th ahead of Jan Nimsch. Boy, oh boy, well, they were pretty spread out, weren't they, in the last race in Barcelona, and Gomez got fired off in the final corner. But boy, if you're going to lead 100 metres of the race, lead the last 100 metres.
Absolutely sensational. That was from beginning to end, fantastic driving from the entirety of the field, of course, but our 2 race leaders, 1st and 2nd position, so much respect, so much racecraft, doing everything they want to do. Lukas Mattea, I feel for him. He tried every trick in the book, and then to get it in the final corner, the final run, just, that was incredible. And Plona, a perfect drive all the way through, but sad for him that he lost out on the drive. But Martin, look how excited they are. Look at them. I mean, one of them's just won and one of them's just lost, but they're racers. And they
reliving every moment, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it was, you know, and that's why they get into this, to have epic races like that. That's why everybody goes racing, to have epic races like that. And for the two of them, whether you're first at line or second at line, all right, it does make a slight difference, but you know, they just enjoyed that 22-3 minutes of absolutely edge of the seat stuff. I mean, fantastic racing by both guys. They gave each other room to survive just about, and they both made it through, you know, with barely a touch of paint. So fantastic racing, and exactly what we hoped for.
Absolutely. And the fact is, that was throughout the entirety of the race. So Mattia tried everything, as we said in the broadcast, every trick in the book to find his way past, got his way past for 3 corners for a short period, a couple of laps before the checkered flag. But the way that Plona, absolute credit to him, did not give any room for anyone to find a way past. When he got overtook, he fought back again. He kept calm. He kept really on the right line, recognised the fact that he's been overtaken, worked out where his next position is to get it back again, and retook that lead, albeit unfortunately not to the checkered flag. That takes a lot of mental capacity and a lot of racecraft, doesn't it? Not to go, thrown it away, but to recover immediately.
And that's the difference between, you know, the best and the others, is that there's that analytical ability to separate the emotion out, and that's in the real world and in the virtual world. That's exactly the same. That remains absolutely a constant. You just got to take out that emotion, that frustration, that annoyance, or the overexcitement of, I've got to get by him. It's got to be clinical and analytical. And that has made a difference to our points. It hasn't stretched anything out. It has closed things up again. So let's take a look at where we stand. Well, we came in with Bartek Grocek with a, okay, the counting is not as quick, with a 4-point advantage over Juan Manuel Gomez. Gomez in the end getting ahead of Grocek for 3rd place. And so that's a big change for the Argentine. Koen Klopman, okay, was 3rd in points coming in here, finished in 9th. So whoomp, suddenly he's gone right out the back window. Jan Nimsch didn't fare well either, but Dominic Plona from 5th, he's moved up. Lucas Mattea from 7th after race 1, he's moved up as well. And of course, it wasn't just the race that went well for them, they were in the top 2 in qualifying as well. So what is it, 10 and 8 points between the two of them, and then 20 and 15. So a very big gain for both of them. And so we've taken a couple of drivers out, and we brought 5th and 6th, or 6th and 7th in the points back up into the top 4 probably, so 4 or 5. So we're going to see quite a few changes, and that then means that far from there being less pressure on the leaders for the final race, there's even more, because now they're that step closer, and there's 1 qualifying session and 1 race to go, and then they know these guys are coming up on the rail behind them with a head of steam, and a great result as well from an enterprising race here in Watkins Glen.
I think that's something we shouldn't underestimate, is the confidence factor. When you have, in any walk of life, in sport, in life, in business, whatever, when you have a run of good results or good performances, like we saw last time out at Watkins Glen, that buys you lap time, that buys you confidence. You get to a point where you can do no wrong, and if you've got that extra bit of confidence, the self-doubt that somebody else might be carrying, if you're not carrying that, that frees up your driving, frees your muscles up and your mind up to be able to concentrate on delivering a performance. And as you say, Martin, this is the final race. There's 20 minutes of racing and 8 minutes of qualifying to go to decide a champion. And meanwhile, just up on our screen again is the launch of the TCR Virtual Series, which starts tomorrow, on Monday the 14th of March. It's on simracing.gp, which is the platform that we run on for the TCR Virtual Global Finals that you see today. Daily races that'll be lasting 6 weeks in duration, and the overall winner will receive prizes, but also there are prizes for participating. So participating means signing up for the races, starting them, running them, and finishing them, and at random drivers will be selected. to take home great prizes just for taking part. So it's bringing TCR Virtual Racing to the masses once again, and that starts on simracing.gp/TCR Virtual. Check that out and get ready to start on Monday. But before we head into the funky business of the final race of the day, let's take a very, very quick break. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back, everybody. Just quickly, anybody who's joining the broadcast, firstly, you've missed two awesome races, so I recommend you press rewind and go and watch them. But if you are joining the broadcast today and you're watching it on the Race Department Twitch channel or the TCR TV YouTube channels and Facebook, drop us a comment in the comment section. Let us know what your favourite TCR car is, and let us know who you think will be the person that takes away the TCR Virtual Global Championship in just a short 40 minutes time or something along those lines. But Martin, I believe I've been whispered sweet nothings in my ears that we are going to have the points table, and it's going to be an accurate points table as well. And here we go.
Is it? Okay, so I'm afraid Bartosz Groszek, I'm not sure how he stays in the lead. Where did he finish in the race? 9th?
The joint lead.
Yeah. And he got points for qualifying, but he wasn't on the front row of the grid. So again, I'm arguing with that. Dominic Ploner and Lukas Mattea, however, have moved up. Koen Klotman didn't score very strongly. Race 2, he dropped down to 9th place. So although he qualified pretty reasonably, he is slipping a little bit down the order from 3rd place. Jan Nimsch has gone from 4th down to 7th place. Dominic Ploner up from 5th place to 3rd. So look at that, a 3-way tie. So although Ploner is shown as 3rd, he is tied on points. So who has a win? That is Bartosz Groszek and Dominic Ploner. Right now, if it comes down to a tiebreak at the end of race 3, things like that are going to be very important, aren't they? So Dominic Ploner with that victory over Lukas Mattea. Mattea only 5 points out of the lead. So qualifying and race, if you get pole position and victory, that's 30 points, and the most anybody else can score behind you is 23 points, so that would be a 7-point spread. So if Mattea puts it on pole for our final race, which will be in Imola, and wins that final race, then he will win because nobody can outscore him. However, that's a big if. And the question, we talked a little bit about, having the momentum of having had a good result and so on. The other thing is, you talk about the actual tracks themselves. Not many of the drivers sort of had a lot of experience at Watkins Glen. So probably most of them are going, okay, great, fine. I was happy with Barcelona. I've done a lot of stuff there. I quite know it. Imola, maybe a little bit less so, but maybe it's a track that they like. Maybe it's not a track that they like. And again, that comes into the mix as well. If throughout the week of practice beforehand, when they've been practicing on the 5 tracks that they were told would be in the mix, maybe they've gone, oh, I just really can't get my head around Imola at all. And then, oh no, it's not only is it in, but it's not even the first one. It's going to be the last one. So there's that as well. And these little sort of incalculables that we can't possibly know are going to be somewhere in the driver's head. A track that you really like, a track that you really get on well with, a track that your car really likes, that your car really gets on well with. And you can't just jump into a different car for the race, for each of the different circuits. You've chosen your car, you've got your weapon, you've got to make it work. And as, again, as we heard a little bit earlier, before the race, drivers trying to get the rig that everybody is using there in the race room to do what they want their rig to do, which is what they're used to their rig at home doing. So there's still all of that going on. I'm sure there will be some of the drivers there that are still trying to get things to work the way that they want to, as well as dialing themselves back in. And this Imola circuit, I mean, it is a great touring car circuit. It's a real slipstreaming circuit as well, and especially because they've changed the layout when the circuit was rebuilt. They changed the layout right at the end of the lap, so the final chicane is gone. So when you come out of the right-hander just before the pit lane, you have got such a long run down to Tamburello. It is a massive slipstreaming circuit. It's very fast. It's got some very slow, hard rotating corners, the likes of Acqua Minerale, Tosa. You've got to get the car turned and squared up, and you've then got a big uphill acceleration after them. So it's a really demanding track. It's not easy in any way, shape or form. And so if you're not used to racing at Imola, if you haven't done a lot of racing beforehand, you're still going to be trying to work out here how it's going to work for you. And that adds more spice to the mix.
And I think you touched on a subject there, Martin, about slipstream and the really long back straight. That is going to be a massive strategic manoeuvre in qualification. Get a good slipstream all the way down that straight. You can buy yourself half a tenth of a second for free. And our drivers are going to be desperate to not be at the front of the queue, to not be the odd one out that's not got a partner or a group of partners. And yes, we've got some teammates here in the same team. You can forget about that. They wear the same colours. But this is a prize of driving a TCR touring car in the real world. Mark my words, it is every man for themselves. As you said, it's not a money can't buy opportunity, but it's realistically for us, it's a money can't buy opportunity. So everybody's going to be absolutely desperate to get at the front of the field, to get away from the danger zone. When you go down into Tamburello and you go down into the first sector of the lap, there are so many opportunities to get caught up in somebody else's accident, to get tagged, the accordion effect, where again, as we've seen it so many times, the front of the field brake while the rest of the field are still very much hard on the loud pedal. You want to be clear of all of that, because this is a race now. If you make a mistake in lap 1 and lap 2, there's just no time to recover it, and there are no points, safety net to afford to be able to do that one. So the pressure, if the pressure could be on, it is so very on for this start to this race and the qualifying.
And actually, it's a great way to end up, because it is a tougher track to race on, in my opinion, than Barcelona. If we'd started in Imola, gone through Watkins, Glen, Barcelona would have seemed like a kind of a run in, a run in the shade, because it basically, if you defend into turn 1, then you're sort of okay. Now, defending into turn 1, as we saw, isn't always easy. But yeah, out of Tamburello, you've got the Villeneuve chicane. Guaranteed there'll be cars in the gravel on both sides in the opening lap. And then you get down to Tosa. All of their focus in qualifying is going to be on getting a slipstream, if they can, down past the pits into Tamburello, but they're going to give away far more by getting Tosa wrong or Acqua Minerale wrong. Carry too much speed down the hill into Acqua Minerale, and you'll be in the playground of the primary school at the bottom of the hill, and you will not be going up the hill up towards Variante Alta with proper speed. So you can give much more away than you'll ever regain in a slipstream, but it's that slipstream toe that starts the lap, and that's what might give you... The other problem is, if you get a toe from somebody, and you close up on them down to Tamburello, they're in your way.
And
so
this,
that's another part of the issue. And in the real world, sorry, just to finish that thought, in the real world, very often when we raced in Imola with touring cars, in world touring cars, a single car on its own would be more likely to get a clean, fast lap than when you had like 5 Cupras or 5 Seats or whatever towing each other along, because you have to have such discipline to give the guy the slingshot and then get out of the way and drop it into the back of the queue. And here we don't have those teammates, we don't have those team orders, and we don't have any time either. So were it me, I would wait 30 seconds and allow everybody else to empty like the bottom of a drain out of the pit lane and then try and go out on my own. Of course, I'm probably not the only person thinking that.
Well, you see, this is where it becomes interesting that we're now on site. So this is where the wise driver will have spent last night when we're in the hotel having a few beers, sharing a few laughs, making friends, influencing people, getting yourself into their social circle, make some time for them, have a chitter-chatter, become comfortable with them, and then say, hey, you're out of contention, but I'm not. Couldn't do me a favour, could you, buddy? And just give me a little tow down the slipstream, or just make it so they like you a little bit more than somebody else. If they see you in their mirrors, they're more inclined to be kind to you in your session than they would be for someone that ignored them all the time, or spilt the drink on them, or ate their peanuts, whatever it might be. And I think all these little things come into play, and somebody who takes that thought will, when they take that thought and put that tactic into play, that is the little differences that a champion does make, he says. But I'm sat here talking about it and they're driving, so they probably know better.
That's the insights of a man who stole everybody's peanuts at the bar last night, ladies and gentlemen. Right, let's
these prices, you're right, I did.
Let's get into qualifying. Yes, Swiss francs don't go very far, do they? 7 minutes of our 10 remain, and, you know, entirely predictably, almost everybody out in one lump. Nesta Girolami out on his own, and that's sensible enough, I think, but everybody else pretty much in a clump. And good to see all 15 cars have made it through into qualifying, so hopefully when Bebu adds fuel he won't be below the minimum ride height. So that was the issue with race 2. So what have we got? We need to see who is going to end up with a good first lap here. This is up at the Variante Alta, the top chicane. The old track used to come straight up the hill, straight across and straight down. The old Imola pre-chicanes, oh boy, that must have been some pretty scary place. Then you drop down from the Variante Alta down into this double left-hander Ravazza. And if you look around in the camera shots here, Imola is a spectacular racetrack, but it is beautifully picturesque. It is literally right in the middle of the town. You come from the town main square, you go left, round a couple of houses. Oh, there's a racetrack right in the town centre. It's not on the edge of or near, it is in the middle of, like Monza, right in the middle of Monza itself. But this isn't in a big park, sort of isolated. Right beside the walls, there are houses, there are schools. It's just a stunning location. So let's watch our cars. Jan Nimsch right now with the fastest lap, and a fellow Cupra driver, Adam Pinces, second, Lucas Mattea. There's Martin Severink in the Alfa. That should be a quick little piggy round here as well, the Alfa. Lots and lots of demanding corners as you climb up the hill here out of Tosa, then dropping down towards Acqua Minerale, plunging down the hill here. Really awkward off-camber corner. Acqua Minerale is the shape it is because it goes around the playground of a primary school. So where the camera is, if you look backwards, that's the kids' playground. I mean, it really is absolutely in the heart of the town. Oh, and there you go. Get it wrong. All of that speed you found on the run up to Tamburello, blown by a mistake in Acqua Minerale. And then you climb the hill. And so it's like double jeopardy. You make a mistake in Tosa or in Acqua Minerale and forget it, lap's over.
And that is the first mistake we have seen from Grocek so far this little 3-round mini-series. Let's hope that's not. Let's hope that's the last time that we see a mistake from the number 97 car, of course. Everything is now on the line. 4 minutes left on the clock in qualification. This is an 8-minute qualifying session. There are points, just to remind everybody, 10 points for pole position all the way down into position 8, and then points for the race as well. So not about grid position, not about bragging rights. This is also championship points, which makes it incredibly important as Lucas Mattea takes provisional pole position at 1 minute 51.909, a tenth and a half ahead of Koen Klotman in second place as Gomez jumps up into position 3. So we talked about banker laps before, Martin, and that is a great banker lap for Mattea, and now he can go forwards from this one and start to try and eke out those final couple of tenths per second that could be the difference between rows 1, 2 and 3.
Look at the virtual tyre smoke everywhere. I mean, the virtual smell of burning rubber on any of these corners would be absolutely enormous. Climbing the hill now up towards the Piratella. And there is Adam Pinces with the vermilion and white on his Cupra. Don't forget, he and Jan Nimsch were first and second with their first laps. They've now been shoved down to 4th and 6th. Pepe Oriola and Bebu Girolami yet to set a lap. We saw Nesta was out on circuit. I did see Pepe's car as well, but they haven't completed a flying lap at any rate. Lucas Mattea fastest of all so far, with Jeff Newton now in 12th place, ahead of Ryan Woodrow's Alpha. And there is Thomas Schmidt in 11th fastest. He is our Swiss sim racing champion. Lucas Mattea, Koen Klotman, and Juan Manuel Gomez. So top 3 in points, top 3 right now as well. Don't forget the lead trio in the points, 39 points each. They are tied together. So Bartosz Grocek, Juan Manuel Gomez and Dominic Ploner, the top 3 in the points. Lucas Mattea, well, if he starts on pole position, he will get 10 points, 2 more than anybody else. And don't forget, he is 5 off the leaders. Then were he to win, he would have 5 more points than anyone else, which would make him an unassailable champion. However, Juan Manuel, Jose Maria, I was going to go there, another Argentine, JM. Juan Manuel Gomez takes the provisional pole as Pepe Oriola has a big moment at the Villeneuve chicane.
You can see how hard they push as well. Jordan getting sideways as well, 6 tenths down in the first sector. It's a personal best for Stefanik in sector 1, 3 tenths away from the ultimate pace. But Gomez, was the final sector that made the difference to his lap for that provisional pole position. Mattea has generally been a little bit slower in sector 1, but makes all his time up in the middle and last sectors. So let's keep our eye on that one. If Mattea can put together S1, then that will be a big opportunity for him to retake that provisional pole position. As Gomez, we're looking at now 3 1,000ths of a second up on his personal best time in sector 1. Now go to Mattea again, slow sector 1, 1.5 tenths in sector 2, purple fastest of all. So Mattea trying to make a recovery. He wants those 10 points for his championship challenge. That will make a big difference for his race, but he decides there's too much traffic ahead of him, gets out of the lap, gives himself some breathing space for the final 25 seconds. And Martin, once again, that's racecraft for you, isn't it? Seeing that your lap, the next lap, should I say, is going to be bolt. So giving up on it and just setting yourself up for the final run to the flag.
Yeah, as long as you've got time to cross the line, of course, to start that final lap. But then, you know, that's not necessarily in your own hands either, where you get balked or if you get balked by somebody else. So closing stages, checkered flag is out, and a beautiful evening in the Emilia-Romagna.
Look at that lap time for Gomez, Martin. He's pulled out half a second almost for pole position.
Yeah, trying to put it away from Mattea. Gomez has taken the flag. Lucas Mattea with the Lincoln Co. should be quick in the first sector. They know what this car is like as a race car in Imola. Nice exit out of Tosa. This is surprisingly steep. Okay, it's not coming out of Eau Rouge steep, but it is surprisingly steep up the hill there. You see the car pop up over the brow there as we were watching Bartosz Grocek climb out of Tosa. When you're walking the circuit, boy, you're working up a bit of a sweat coming up the hill there and down into Acqua Minerale. The exit is the same as well. So Jan Nimsch there getting all crossed up at 6s and 7s going into the second element, and that means that you are slow at picking up the throttle up the hill, up to the Variante Alta. Variante Bassa doesn't exist anymore, not as an actual chicane. So out of the Variante Alta and then plunging back down the hill towards the Ravazza. Double left-handers that pretty much end the lap. And again, so easy to get those wrong as well. This is fast and the road just drops away from you and drops away in the wrong direction, both as you come over the brow there and as you get down into the two lefts. They're very slightly banked, but again, look at that big handful of opposite there from Thomas Schmidt. Thank you, Thomas. Exactly as I was going to try and actually point out verbally, he showed us physically. The car just drifts away. The rear end likes to walk on down the hill. So, Juan Manuel Gomez from Lucas Matea. That is very interesting. Front row of the grid and pole position for Gomez. Really good stuff. So, yeah, pressure is on now, isn't it? Gomez, Bartosz Grocek and Dominic Plona were tied together ahead of Lucas Matea. There's Nestor Girolami wearing his regular race team shirt, number 29 on it, and in the background, Lucas Matea, liking the shorts and the t-shirt combo. That's very relaxed.
And it just goes to show, doesn't it? Again, Matea showed great speed all the way through this three-round championship, but did not have enough for that pole position, 0.3 of a second in the end in arrears on the front row of the grid. But that is a great place to be, Martin. Not necessarily is pole position the best place at Imola, because as you say, you're vulnerable to an attack from those behind, you're vulnerable to giving away the slipstream to your immediate rivals, so almost you want to be in that second spot and then draft up to the rear of the race leader and try and stay out of trouble in the first couple of corners. Just let the race settle down, work out where you are mentally in terms of track position, as well as the lights are not far away from going green.
20 minutes plus a lap. This will be winner takes all. Gomez and Matea the front row. Pinches, Klotman, Nimsch and Grocek on rows 2 and 3. Good start from Klotman, trying to get himself around the outside of Lucas Matea, and Juan Manuel Gomez, really vital. The Argentine takes the lead. He's got to take the inside line. Klotman looking on the inside. Gomez gets safely through into the Villeneuve chicane for into Tamburello for the first time, heading down towards the Villeneuve chicane. He's got his nose in front of Lucas Matea. Ooh. Trouble behind, somebody facing backwards. And was that Schmidt? I think it was. There's Adam Pinches third. And again, Pepe Oriola going out wide. He wasn't the only one. I think that was Jeff Newton going out with him, on board with Dominic Plona, our race 2 second place man. And he is currently just ahead of Bartosz Grocek. So Plona and Grocek. Grocek in third in race 2. But right now, Juan Manuel Gomez and Lucas Matea. And so, Paul, lap 1 here in Imola of the final race of the global final, and 2 regional champions racing for victory. Juan Manuel Gomez, the champion of the Americas. Lucas Matea, the champion of Europe, racing for victory, not just here in Imola, but in the overall standings as well. This is it all, everything together. 20 minutes plus a lap, and the 2 top guys, the number 1 seeds, are in it for the victory.
And that is exactly what we want to see. The cream rises to the very top. And don't forget, for these drivers, they're fighting to potentially achieve a lifelong dream, having the opportunity to drive a real-world TCR touring car as Klopman jumps down pit lane now. So that was a deliberate move from Klopman. There wasn't a mistake to join pit road. That was a deliberate pulling off of the racetrack. So suddenly Koen Klopman is out of this race now and out of the contention in the competition. So a real shame, such an early exit for Koen Klopman. At the front of the field, Mattia 0.8 of a second away from Gomez. We're dropping back to Bebo Girolami in 7th position. So Bebo, great job in the opening few laps, using all of that racing experience to pick his battles, work his way through cars that are holding themselves up and holding each other up and having a battle as well. So Girolami on course for his best result. This is Grocek now with the car up his inside. I think no, Grocek holds on to 5th position. But Martin, as you say, we've got 17 minutes 16 seconds left on the clock. We've got a champion to crown. Thibaut Prost fancies a fight.
Yeah, Thibaut Prost has been in the fight in all of the races so far, hasn't he? Actually, it wasn't quite where he wanted to be at the end of the race in Watkins Glen, but he certainly made Barcelona and Watkins Glen very entertaining. Gomez and Mattia, two big saloons out front. The Hyundai Elantra, of course, introduced in 2021 to replace the i30N, which was Hyundai's first TCR car and won its first 2 years in the WTCR series. Lucas Mattia with the Lincoln Co 03, which has won back-to-back WTCR titles as well. So two very, very good base chassis out front, and the Cupra, well, the most familiar TCR car on the planet. That currently lies in 3rd place with Adam Pinches, then Dominic Plona in 4th, ahead of Bartosz Grocek, and behind Grocek, Thibaut Prost and Bebo Girolami. Bebo in the Honda. Now again, I'm not sure how many races Nestor has had in real life in Imola, but you can't be a racing driver in the real world or the virtual and not actually just love Imola. It's such a great circuit. That's why it's a classic circuit, not just because it's been around a long while, but the Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari has got history, but it's full of entertainment. Look at Girolami on the inside, looking to come down to try and defend against an attack from Josef Nimsch, and also put pressure on Thibaut Prost in front of him. So Thibaut in that red and black, with Nestor right behind him in the Cube Controls livery, the predominantly white Type R behind the Frenchman. Out front though, Gomez just doing what he needs to do, staying in front of Lucas Mattia. Mattia not able to really tow up behind Gomez, or not wanting to tow up behind Gomez in the slipstream in these opening laps.
And what's interesting, Martin, with this being an on-site event, often in competitions like this one, the drivers will have a fellow team member talking to them in their ear through whatever voice platform they use, giving the calculations to people like Lucas Mattia. Stay where you are, you've got enough points for the championship, or you need to attack, you need to defend. Not so on this event. You are very much on your own. You've got your headphones on, there's nobody talking to you, there's nothing happening. You've just got to work it out for yourself and get the best result for yourself possible. For someone like Lucas Mattia, if he's not done those calculations before this race started, it's going to be such a difficult position to find yourself in. Do I take chances to close that 0.9 of a second deficit down and then find a way past? Or am I safe where I am? Is this going to give me the points I need for the title? And that is all little things that take away the concentration from the task in hand. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Mattia attacks these next few laps and what his intentions are overall for the race, as we're looking at the number 17 Lincoln Co now, 2nd position, within tantalisingly close to being up into the slipstream of that car ahead.
Yeah, he is closing up, isn't he? And maybe he's just allowed the car a couple of laps to settle its tyres. Still got some panel damage on the door there. There's Nestor Girolami still hanging on in front of Martin Steverink's Alpha. There's Ryan Woodrow. So Ryan coming from the USA to race here in our race centre in Switzerland. And again, watching that action from behind. Martin Steverink trying to get around 29 Nestor Girolami, the Alpha, with that familiar historic grille shape. But out front, Gomez and Mattia. Mattia gets about 3/4 of a second back and not really any closer than that. Looking back from Nesta Girolami's rearview mirror, look at the top of your screen. There's the Alpha. Severin so close. Little contact there in Acqua Minerale. And again, both of them compromised, and that gives a chance to Ryan Woodrow from behind. He came through quickly. He came through cleanly. Severin gets in front into the Variante Basso, and off go both of them. And actually, as a result, Ryan Woodrow wasn't quite sure where to go there, but he picked up 2 spots.
Yeah, good stuff. Ryan Woodrow having a very strong race for this final event of the day, and wise driving from Woodrow there as well. Recognised that Girolami and Steverink are an accident waiting to happen as we see more.
They're not
contact.
waiting. And in fact, Ryan Woodrow didn't get by either of them. They are an accident that is continually happening. They're definitely not waiting, are they? Steverink getting into the door of Girolami, losing ground there. And again, that just shows that when there is a battle in front of you, sometimes it's the devil's own job not to get caught up in somebody else's accident. It really happens so often. Bartosz Grocek, one of our 3-way leaders. At the moment, this is slipping away from him. He's down in 5th. The other 2 leaders in the points, Juan Manuel Gomez, 1st in the race, Dominic Plona, 4th in the race. So right now, the tie-break splits. Gomez, as they are now, will be the overall champion ahead of Matea, who will also be ahead of Plona and Grocek in that order. So the only one, Adam Pinces, currently in 8th place, will move up the order, but he's only got 11 points in total before qualifying R. Now, this doesn't take into account qualifying points, does it? So, in fact, that will extend the advantage even further. So Pinces probably won't overtake Plona or Grocek, but he will close up a little bit.
But with 11 minutes and 11 seconds left on the clock, we've got plenty of racing before we get to that point. And very often we say anything can happen, and it usually does. We see Dominic Plona getting a nice armful of curb, pushes him out on the exit of the chicane, but he manages to stay, broadly speaking, within track limits. So Plona lives to fight another day in 4th position. But that's brought a little bit of a gap to Pinches in 3rd place. So the comfort blanket has got bigger to the tune of 1.8 seconds. So Adam Pinches in 3rd place is comfortable in no man's land, actually. Not close enough to attack P2, not close enough to defend from P4. So an easy podium at this stage in proceedings is Adam Pinches's for the taking. We're looking at Grocek now in 5th place. Again, one of the drivers that needs to score big, that needs to beat his immediate rivals. If he has got any desire to take this championship, it's falling away from him, as you say, Martin. And as a driver, oh, it's so soul destroying. When you're in this position, you can see the prize ahead of you, but it's just too far ahead to reach out and have any chance of grasping. So now for Grocek, it is firmly in the hands of other people to lose rather than him to win, as Matea closing in 2nd place.
This could be very interesting, couldn't it? Remember, Watkins, Glen, Matea was behind all the way until the line, and as like a track cyclist sprinter, just found something out of the final corner, into the final corner, through the final corner, got alongside and just won the sprint to the line by half a nose. And if he were to do that here, would it be enough? I don't think it would. I think something has to happen to Juan Manuel Gomez, because Gomez got the points for pole, didn't he? So he's already he's already extended his advantage. He was, before qualifying, 5 points ahead of Matea. He's added a further 2 points in terms of qualifying because he started on pole. So he is effectively 7 points ahead. And that means that Matea needs to win with Gomez 3rd to win it by a single point. If it comes down to a tie-break, and neither of them have won it, then Matea will take it on having a victory in Watkins Glen, but that is a way away. What we do know, though, is that Matea is closing with every sector on each lap. Another 10th, another 10th, another 10th. Plona also going quicker in 4th than Pinces in 3rd, so he's closing. Bartosz Grocek is dropping away from him a little bit into the clutches of Thibaut Probst, and then Nesta Girolami not really able to close up the gap. And it's interesting, I was surprised that the field has spread out quite so quickly. In his Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine colours, you're looking at Pepe Oriola. It's just the penny suddenly dropped, that's what it is, isn't it? Oh, and there, Ryan Woodrow with a real problem. All at 6s and 7s. Yeah, no, he's just dropped way, basically selected reverse there somehow. Not sure what happened. Shane Jordan, Jeff Newton have both just gone straight by him. And Ryan Woodrow was up behind Martin Severink and Nesta Girolami a little while ago. Meanwhile, Ploner and Grocek with Probst coming up behind them as the lead two get closer and closer together.
And it's saying 0.6 of a second on the timing tower, but you can see how close now first and second place in this race are. They're within touching distance of each other. You'll very firmly, will Lucas Mattea be picking up the slipstream from that race leading our car of Juan Manuel Gomez, and that's going to buy him lap time all the way from corner exit of this corner now. As we pass the entry to the pit lane, he's going to be gaining extra speed, extra horsepower, extra pull down the back straight into the T1, which is the I'm sorry, I was hearing something in my ear now. Just been told that results will be provisional of this championship stand. Is due to a number of...
I think what we're looking at, what we're going to look at is, as of now, how they will finish. Ooh. So as of now, Gomez, Grocek and Mattea, that's after qualifying. So Gomez did extend his advantage over Mattea, as I'd sort of worked out, roughly to 7 points. And Mattea, though, moves into joint second with Bartosz Grocek. Right now, Grocek, of course, behind them in the race. So Lucas Mattea, a win is not enough. He needs somebody to join in. He needs Adam Pinces, or actually these guys. Bartosz Grocek, 97, with his team buddy, Dominic Ploner behind, and then Thibaut Probst. We ride on board with the Frenchman who races for Romain Grosjean's R8G squad, part of Romain Grosjean's growing and fast. It must be the fastest growing team I think I know of from an R8G, but Thibaut Probst there. But yeah, Mattea needs somebody to join in because he needs somebody to catch them, and then Mattea needs to win this with Gomez third or worse, but Mattea to take the title. I think that's the way it works. He needs a 5-point spread. Getting ahead is not enough because after qualifying he's 7 points behind. So Gomez, if he's working this, I mean, I'm just sitting in a chair watching the pictures, and I've got somebody else who can pick up talking if I have to think too hard, and I'm trying to work through it, and we've only got 5 minutes left of the race, and I've sort of now got to where we are. I'm not trying to drive to within, you know, an iota of the car's performance envelope. So these guys are just, you know, you just got to put it on pole and win the race, and that's it, and hope that you've guessed it right, or that you have enough points in the end. Looking here at Thomas Schmidt, and coming back past him is Koen Klopman, so out of the pit lane, moves up into 14th out of 15, chasing Pepe Oriola. And again, looking here at Grocek, Ploner and Probst. Probst at the back in the 22. Nimsch chasing Steverinks Alpha. And not too far behind Nesta Girolami either in the 29 Cube Controls Honda. So there's your leaders, Juan Manuel Gomez and Lucas Mattea. As they climb the hill here into the evening sunset, Adam Pinces with the vermilion colours on his car in third. Look at the top of the hill, look at the top of the hill. Long way back, really offering little succour at all to Lucas Mattea. Something has to go very badly wrong for Juan Manuel Gomez for him to drop behind Pinces. Pinces 4.3 seconds, 5.5 seconds behind the leader, 4.3 behind second place. So it's going to have to go a long way wrong.
Yeah, Lucas Mattea needs to get his elbows out if he can make an overtaking manoeuvre on Gomez and hope to slow each other down enough to bring Pinches and Grosjean into the fight, and props as well. That is, as you say, as you rightly say, Martin, the only real chance that Lucas Mattea has of taking this title. But again, 3 minutes 20 seconds left on the clock. We've seen plenty of drama in the very dying embers of a race before, so all is not lost. All Lucas Mattea can do is get a little bit closer to that Hyundai ahead. He needs to put him under pressure. Give him something to think
ignore
about.
the points and try and win the race and see what happens afterwards. So far, there have been no interventions from the stewards, so there's all that going on on everybody's plus account as well. Nobody's picked up penalties. Nobody's picked up major dramas.
I have been told in my ear, though, Martin, I have been told in my ear that we must remember that all results are provisional, as there are several appeals from drivers that are still being seen by the stewards over the course of the race. So, although we will see a points champion, it will not be guaranteed until it's been confirmed by race control.
Oh, that's a shame, because I was going to ask, how's your Spanish improved since you spoke to
I
know. Well, meanwhile, Thibaut Probst has moved up a spot. He got ahead of Dominic Plona. Plona, as we ride on board, trying to fight his way back into it. The Polish driver not able to get back on terms with a Frenchman. Thibaut in the red and black Honda Civic Type R. But notice how they are dropping away now. The two of them getting into it leaves Bartosz Grosjean just to creep away a little in his purple Audi in front. So Juan Manuel Gomez with a Ford Zilla livery, little lock up into the Variante Alta. Again, the cars streaming over the brow of the hill. You sort of come all the way up there from Acqua Minerale. You brake right as you get to the top of the brow, almost as the road starts to drop away into the chicane, and then down the hill here through the first and the second Rivazza. Great graduated seating all the way up the hillside there on the inside, sort of terraced like a field, but no grandstand, but it's a terraced hillside to allow the fans to just pack it, as they will do, of course, for the Gran Premio de Emilia-Romagna when Formula One arrives here. First race of the European campaign, and then rushing down towards the Variante Tamburello. Plona trying to come around the outside of Probst. Tamburello, does he get through? No, doesn't quite. Had his nose in front, but not enough. And then here is Lucas Mattea. Final minute of time. So as they climb out of Tosa, the end of this lap, plus one more. And Mattea still, I mean, this is a very, very different race, isn't it, from Watkins Glen. Still not able to put the car alongside, not able to make a move, not able to even get within touching distance, unlike the way he and this man in the purple car, Dominic Plona, raced together in Watkins Glen. The purple Honda was under pressure every single inch of the way, and not just sort of metaphorically under pressure, but with a car alongside him at least once on every single lap of the race, and at one stage getting ahead, then getting back in front before he got passed by the line. In the inset is Juan Manuel Gomez, watching as he comes back down the hill to the Rivazza for the penultimate time through the double left-handers, and then picking up the pace again through the 19th and final corner on the lap, heading towards the start-finish line, and onto the last lap here in Imola, the last lap of the afternoon's action, the last of our three races.
And this is a performance that Gomez has threatened to put in all the way through this series, but has been caught out with a number of dramas on the opening lap in races 1 and races 2. But it just goes to show, doesn't it, a new aggressive strategy into lap 1, staying out of trouble, converting qualifying into an early race lead. And Gomez very clearly looks like a driver that has lap time to spare, is driving within himself and his car, and he's just doing everything he needs to do to take the victory, to take the points, to take the championship. A very measured drive from our race leader.
And don't forget that Juan Manuel Gomez starts here in Imola from his second pole position out of 3 qualifying sessions. So it's not just good racecraft, he's good at qualifying as well. He's good at finding the ultimate pace. So clearly he is very comfortable with his Hyundai Elantra. No surprise to see that he is a Fordzilla driver. Dropping down through Acqua Minerale for the very final time. Tantalizingly close, Lucas Matea, but the driver from the Czech Republic, our champion of Europe in the TCR Virtual Series for 21, has not been able to overhaul our champion of the Americas. And although he came in here with a slender points advantage, Juan Manuel Gomez with pole position has managed to ease ahead of Lucas Matea. The checkered flag awaits. They're heading towards the finish line. Gomez is going to take his first win of the series, and he will take victory here in Imola. Just mops his brow a fraction ahead of Lucas Matea. There he is. And that is what it takes. 2 pole positions and 1 win out of 3 races. And Juan Manuel Gomez of Argentina is the champion. It is provisional, but I don't think we saw anything that he did in the races that would require a steward's penalty. And I'm not surprised the young man from Argentina is overcome with emotion. I think that is Lucas, that's not Lucas Matea going over to congratulate him, but that's one of his rivals going over to congratulate him. So Lucas Matea takes second at the line. Adam Pinces from Poland is third, but it is Juan Manuel Gomez. Well, he has a very famous pair of Christian names. And the Argentine driver comes to Europe, and like his namesake Juan Manuel Fangio, has produced a fantastic racing championship. And Paul, it was always going to be tough for anybody to come out on top here. Nobody won more than one of our 3 races. And as we said right at the very beginning, being consistently right at the sharp end was going to be what decided it. In the end, he needed the win.
He did, and he took it in commanding style. And don't forget, Juan Manuel Gomez travelled from Argentina all the way to Switzerland. That's a big commitment to do that one. He's raced through a very, very competitive America's regional qualifying finals to get the privilege of coming here to this race anyway, to race for the big prize. He soaked up the pressure. He was one of the pre-event favourites. Fantastic in qualifying. Got caught up in dramas in the opening race, but didn't lose his head, just took the points that are available to him, took no additional risks, performed very, very professionally. Then again, race 2, took those learnings to Watkins Glen, had another very strong result, scored points big where he needed to, and then when the pressure was on, when the heat was on, and the need to go out there and qualify at the front and take the race victory, he's done that phenomenally well at Imola for the last race of the season, and a thoroughly deserving champion. And Martin, you saw his face there, emotion gets the better of him. Wonderful to see.
So, and rightly so. You know, you watch these guys when they're in their rigs, when they're in the middle of the race, when they're in the thick of the action, and they look absolutely cool, calm and collected, because if you panic, you just bin it anyway. And so there is that, but they are bottling up emotion, and it's not a natural way to be. And as a result, when you take your foot off the gas, metaphorically as well as literally taking the flag, then you can allow the emotion to come to the surface. And boy, it absolutely did, and rightly so. You know, as you say, you know, came from Argentina, never been in Europe before, so it's a big learning curve for him. You know, if we'd been in Spain maybe, and if you'd been in Barcelona or Madrid, somewhere where he could at least speak the language, then that would be one thing. Nobody can speak Swiss Deutsch for a start, but you know, he doesn't even speak English either, so he doesn't have that sort of international calling card to kind of help mingle with everybody else. So quite isolating, quite a strange environment, different rig from what he's used to. Just steps up. I mean, it's the same for everybody else in terms of being a different rig to what they're used to, but just a fantastic result, and really good news for him, and really good news as well for drivers from outside of Europe, because Europe was, in terms of the numbers of drivers who were competing, the strongest in terms of numbers of the season, of the 3 series. But you come from wherever you come from, and you've still got to beat the best of the best when you get to the top of the pyramid, and he's done exactly that, and it's a fantastic opportunity he's taken. And you know, we've shown the ad a couple of times during the show. From Monday, the doors open again for TCR Racing. So if you're watching this TCR Virtual Series, if you're watching these global finals going, oh, well, it's all right for them, they've got plenty. Start on Monday, everybody. Sim Racing GP. Get your miles in. Choose your weapon. And then, once you start to find your feet and get a little bit more familiar with this type of touring car racing, then maybe you can go into the races next year. And who knows, maybe there will be more names coming into the regional finals next year that we have never come across before. And maybe there'll be another name that we have not come across before who's in the global finals. And that's where it starts. It starts, like all races do, on Monday morning after the last race.
Absolutely, and that shows that this whole product, this whole pyramid, as you say, in structure of the TCR Virtual Championship works. We've got drivers where it's very fair to say that the European region tends to be the dominant region in terms of broadcast, in terms of public-facing presentation to the general public, and the platform for drivers from the Americas to come race alongside their European counterparts, race alongside their Asia Pacific region counterparts on the same level playing field, and then go ahead and win that race, win that championship, take the prizes, take the drive in a real world TCR virtual touring car is just absolutely amazing. And I'm made up for Juan Manuel Gomez, because he is so, we saw it, we called it when we did the regional championship. He's just looked an absolute cut above the majority of the field, cool, calm, collected, composed. And here are, Martin Haven, the global championship final provisional results.
Yep. So Juan Manuel Gomez is our champion. Lukasz Matea, the champion in Europe, is in second spot, and Bartosz Grocek is in third. So our 3 race winners are our top 3, and perhaps no surprise given how many points you get, because to win the race, generally you've got to have started right at the sharp end of the grid as well. Dominic Ploner and Thibaut Pobst in 4th and 5th. They're the best of the Honda drivers ahead of Koen Kotman. Not sure what happened to Koen, the Dutchman, pitting at the end of lap 1 in this race, which took him right out of the frame. He was in the top 3, tied on 39 points, on 29 points before the beginning of the final race. So then, the best of the real world drivers, Bebu Girolami, ahead of Thomas Schmidt and Pepe Oriola. They are 14th and 15th, and that is Nesta not even completing race 2. So if Juan Manuel Gomez wants to compare real world notes with anybody, then I suggest he has a chat to compatriot and real world TCR driver Nesta Girolami. He will know Nesta well, because Nesta came to Europe as a multiple TC 2000 champion from Argentina. He's won the Argentine touring car championship on a number of occasions. So I'm sure that Juan Manuel Gomez will know his name. And I'm sure, I mean, Bebu is just such an absolutely lovely bloke. He will be really, really keen to give Juan Manuel some hints and tips and some notes, and he'll give him his phone number. Mate, if you want to talk about anything, and for Juan Manuel, it's a great opportunity. I'm sure that WSC, the group behind TCR in all its various iterations, will be making contact with the team in Argentina to get him a chance to drive the car close to home, and it's a phenomenal opportunity to drive a real world racing car. And I don't know what he drives, what he normally drives, what his experience is in terms of the real world, but to get into a car like a TCR car, whichever brand it happens to be, and get the chance to drive it on a real race circuit on slick tyres, is just so far away from what any road car driver is used to. It's going to blow his tiny mind. So if he thinks he's emotional now, he's going to be a gibbering wreck when he's finished his prize drive. So that's a fantastic opportunity. As we said, money can buy it, but it's the sort of money that if you spend it, you're going to end up getting divorced once Mrs. Jeffrey finds out how much it costs. So it's a phenomenal prize. And again, as we said, next year's global final, the battle to get into it starts on Monday, because that's where you get your first races in the brand new season of TCR Series. So yeah, if you've not done this before, if you're used to single-seaters or you like other things, yeah, give it a go. Who knows? Who knows where you may end up?
Yep, you got to be in it to win it. Great stuff, Martin. And very quickly, stay with us. We're coming to the podium shortly, but we're going to take a very quick advert break. See, told you it wouldn't be gone long. And Martin, I'm about to move away from the commentary perch where I am now and see the podium and talk to our top three drivers. But before I do go, it's time to say goodbye. And once again, absolute pleasure sharing the commentary box. And thank you for being with us today in the TCR Global Finals.
Hola, hablo español? No?
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, if you want somebody to do the interview, take Nesta with you. No, absolutely. Take Nesta Girolami, because I'm sure that they will have a lot to talk about anyway. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. The regional finals were really exciting. We saw some fantastic racing, and hey, we've taken the best of them and put them all together. What could possibly go wrong? And thrown in some great racetracks. I've really, really enjoyed it, as always. Fantastic to have fun doing commentary with you, and please thank you to all of our drivers for making the racing so exciting. It's just been a joy to watch it.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you very much, Martin. Everybody at home, don't go anywhere. We are counting down to the podium in just a few short moments' time, so stay with us. And once again, Martin Haven, thank you very much, sir.
Welcome back everybody, thank you for staying with us, and now it is time for the podium celebrations. The racing has been sensational, the driving has been an absolute different class, and we have got our top 3 finishers for the global final of the TCR Virtual Championship. First up, I'd like to welcome to the podium our 3rd place finisher. Congratulations to your 3rd position for Barcelona. So guys, well done. How are you feeling after that finish?
I'm feeling very great. It was really hard racing, and I'm really thankful for the result.
This is the first time I've had to put the phone up to somebody in my entire broadcasting career. At the start of the race, we saw the drama of contact between different drivers, and there was a lot of staying out of trouble. At any stage did you feel threatened on track that you might fall out of contention or make contact?
Oh, I think the race was really hard, but I think it was fair. Everyone was driving like proper TCR drivers, but it was fair in my opinion.
Fantastic stuff. Well, congratulations again on 3rd position. Of course, for that race, we will make Q Controls GP Sports steering wheel. So thank you to Q Controls. And in 2nd position, a monumental fight. Please don't step on the podium yet, because it's too high up. Well done to Lucas. What a brilliant result. Well done. Well done for that one. Tell us a little bit about your race and some fantastic on-track battles.
Thank you so much, and yeah, it was fantastic battles. I gave it all my all, and if it wasn't for the first race, I crashed somewhere. So I think I could be maybe first, but Juan totally deserved it. He was the fastest, so congratulations to him.
Brilliant sportsmanship there, and we saw some of the racing of the evening from yourself today, side-by-side action, passing and repassing. And at the end of the race, we saw you talking to your rival, shaking hands, really excited. I mean, that's what we do this for, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and it's TCR, so there will be a lot of contacts, but I think I raced fair. So, and eventually Dominic came and apologized to me, and we are fine together. So.
Brilliant, Lucas. Congratulations. It was a great result. For his 2nd position, step on the podium there. Thank you very much. And Lucas, first troubles, wins a Q Controls GT Pro steering wheel, which will be awarded in a little while. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody on site and at home, it is now time to crown our 2021 TCR Virtual Global Champion. After a phenomenal 3 races, a phenomenal performance, we have a winner. We have a deserving champion. Juan Manuel Gomez, winner of TCR Virtual Global Championship. Congratulations. Now, unfortunately, my Spanish is still no better than when we started this broadcast, so Alberto's here, we've already pre-warned you, but Juan Manuel, how does it feel to be TCR Virtual Champion, Global Champion?
Bueno, realmente no puedo creerlo, no tengo palabras. Mi primera vez en Europa, viajar a un lugar muy lejos, completamente solo, pero bueno, el hambre de querer ganar, de querer tener un título mundial, de querer representar de la mejor manera a mi país, por supuesto a mi equipo que hizo un esfuerzo muy grande, y también por todas las personas que me escribieron, que me hicieron mucha fuerza desde Argentina, y quería que esto sea para ellos. Las primeras carreras muy friccionadas, pero sabía y quería que fuera a mi manera, y así que tuve que cambiar el esquema para las otras 2. Así que no lo puedo creer, realmente todo esto es para ellos, para toda la gente que me alienta, para mi país, para mi equipo, y sin duda es algo increíble, es algo que soñé, que cualquier persona que compite, que hace un deporte, es algo a lo que anhela llegar siempre, así que muy feliz.
That means happy.
Yeah, Juan Manuel is obviously he's super happy. He has no words. We saw him right after the race. He was very emotional. It's his first time actually outside from in Europe, so it's amazing. He was really looking forward to win something international like this event. So we're very happy for him. He was thanking his team, Fortzilla, and all the people at home that are supporting him with messages and are pushing him towards the victory. And he was saying that the first couple of races were quite tough. He had to race with a lot of battles and everything, but he kept like fighting and being there on the top. And yeah, he's super happy about the final result.
Fantastic. I suppose that's just left for me to say that you've won a drive in a TCR touring car. That's got to be exciting, surely.
Sí, realmente va a ser una experiencia increíble. Espero poder hacerla, poder volver a viajar de nuevo, manejar un auto de TCR en la vida real, poder sentirlo, poder dar unas vueltas un día de test. Va a ser algo que no imaginaba nunca y es un premio increíble, así que bueno, espero que sea de la mano de Beu, de mi amigo Beu, y que me acompañe. Y bueno, nada, quiero agradecer a todos ustedes y por supuesto a todos los pilotos que estuvieron acá participando y felicitarlos también por el trabajo que hicieron.
Yeah, he's really looking forward for this drive. He couldn't believe that he could win a real racing car drive, and he's really looking forward to it, to be able to jump on the car and start racing. He's hoping to do it with his very friend Bebu Girolami, who is also from Argentina, and I saw that they have been setting up the car together and everything, so yeah, they might be doing the test together. And yeah, he also wanted to thank all the drivers, all the people who made this possible, and yeah, he's looking forward to coming back.
Fantastic stuff. Congratulations, give it up for our Chancellor. Fantastic stuff. And of course, alongside the drive in a TCR touring car, he'll also win a Cube Controls GT Pro. And it's time to hand out those awards now for our top 3 podium finishers. So Bebo Girolami and also Anyo from WSC. Let's get some prizes. Give it up for our second place finisher with a Cube Control GT Pro. And finally, our first place man takes away another Cube Control GT Pro. Don't drop it. Good luck getting that on your carry-on for when you go home. And now, finally, we have got one last thing to say before we say goodbye for the day. Brilliant stuff, guys. Well done. Round of applause, everybody, once again, please. Absolutely sensational stuff, and it's just left for me to say a massive thank you to all our drivers throughout the course of the competition, everybody who registered, everybody who took part in the races, everybody here today for the Grand Finales, to our sponsors, to our event organisers, to everybody that makes this possible, and to you folks at home for staying with us during the course of this broadcast. TCR Series comes to simracing.gp on Monday the 14th of March, simracing.gp/TCR Virtual Series, and we cannot wait to see you again. So until next time, from everybody here, thanks very much, and bye bye.